The scene before him then was just a pile of ruins engulfed in a sea of fire. The dead fell like harvested wheat. Swords clashed and blood flowed everywhere. Some had been struck down today, others had fallen long ago. All he knew was that at that moment, two swords met. Geron and an irreconcilable enemy now sharing a common foe charged at each other. The enemy swung his sword. Geron parried the blow with his own blade. The arcane family, a powerful authority with two vicious dragons guarding a sword everyone coveted. A ducal family protecting the empire at the northern point of the continent. The reason the arcane family had stood strong as a northern bulwark for over 1,000 years was due to a special constitution believed to be inherited from dragon's blood. All those who carried arcane blood were born with extraordinary magical power, resilience, and talent in swordsmanship, all except for him. Geron coughed up blood as his abdomen suffered a fatal wound. A voice spoke as Geron collapsed. "Even now you still haven't learned anything." Geron's enemy threw him a scornful remark. "Geron, in your blood, there are things that no matter how hard you try, you can't achieve. People call that incompetence." But that familiar tone made the seething anger suddenly cool, turning into bewildered confusion. "What?" The man removed his mask, revealing his white mustache. He sneered, not inheriting talent despite carrying arcane blood, and then revealed his aged face and blazing red eyes. "I'd be angry too, young master." An acquaintance of Geron. Right then he officially tasted the sting of an invisible sword in his back. Geron cried out in despair, "Brendan, why you—" Contrary to Geron's expression, Brendan calmly recounted his tale of incompetence. "You see every morning watching you train relentlessly despite having no talent. It was truly a pitiful sight." His next words carried the clearest humiliation, especially when that diligence leads you nowhere. He cackled with delight at Geron's pain and uselessness. Without a shred of mercy, he had no reason to pity someone with no magic, no swordsmanship. "The arcane family's fool. It suits you. You should go hide, you piece of trash. It's laughable watching you struggle trying to make something of yourself." On the verge of despair and bitterness, he gritted his teeth. "Brendan." Geron stabbed his sword point fiercely into the ground. "You approached me to become my swordmaster and taught me useless sword techniques." Geron's throat seethed. If Geron were an extraordinary person, he would have spat words of fire. "Just to drive me out of the Crimson Flower Palace. Why, you bastard?" But Geron's reply was met with an unsettling silence, only for a sword to whistle a bloody path towards him. The pain of cut flesh and torn skin overwhelmed Geron. His skin was ripped, his flesh gashed, creating an opening for blood to pour out. Geron screamed in agony. Amidst the pain, Brendan's steady voice, "Ha, so you blame me." He grabbed Geron's hair. "All of this happened because of you." His pupils contracted into cruel red dots as he lifted Geron's bloodied body, his voice hissing, "Why don't you understand?" He gestured for Geron to look to see the magnificent scene ablaze. His voice remained close to Geron's ear. "Why is the Crimson Flower Palace burning? Why are your family members dying?" His lips curled as one of his men dragged a woman by her hair. "Why your mother?" That scoundrel threw the woman's lifeless body hard onto the ground, letting him see a woman, Cecilia Arcane, dead. He sneered, "Has become a cold, soulless corpse." Something snapped Geron's emotional nerves while Brendan's voice continued to grate unpleasantly in his ear. "Because you are the Arcane family's fool." He lectured steadily as if to a student processing information. In a family ruled by strength, the information about his mother's fate was simply that she lay there. She was dead. Suddenly, a brilliant light emanated from Geron's chest, startling him. A robotic voice echoed in his ears. "You have received a reward. All your stats will increase rapidly." The next thing he knew, that light enveloped Jaron despite his bewildered thoughts of, "What the hell is happening?" The robotic voice announced, "Commencing next mission." Not knowing what was happening, Jaron only felt his tears flow unconsciously. Jaron wondered if things could have been different before the sea of fire consumed him, the Crimson Flower Palace, and his ill-fated mother's body. A notification sound brought a cruel reality: "You have died." Then surprising news for Jaron. "Jaron, your trait has been activated, returning to the regression point." Jaron jolted awake with a sword in his hand and Brendan's steady voice. "You seem tired, young master." Jaron was overwhelmed with bewilderment while Brendan announced, "All right, let's end today's lesson here." The two master and student stood about 100 paces from the entrance to the castle. Brendan tilted his head dreamily, pushing a wooden sword close to him. Jaron, bewildered, thought, "What, didn't I just die?" Jaron tried to rationalize the scene before him. "I must be reliving my life." If Jaron's thoughts were a memory, Brendan's voice calling young master in equally bewildered memory was no less confusing. Jaron insisted to himself, "I can't believe the face I'm recalling is Brendan's detestable face." Jaron let out a long sigh. Is death cruel even in its final moments? However, while Jaron wasn't paying attention, a system window suddenly appeared before his eyes. A strange light emanated from them and he froze. Right in front of the old face looking at him was a notification. Tutorial mission: punch Brendan in the face. After reading it, Jaron became even more bewildered. Jaron was utterly confused as he read every word. Tutorial mission: punch Brendan. What the hell is this? Jaron glanced from Brendan to the system window, wondering, do people normally reminisce like this when they die? I don't think he can see this. Meanwhile, Brendan, looking perplexed, asked, "What's wrong?" Then Jaron made a decision. He dropped his wooden sword. He clenched his trembling fist, trying to convince himself that he didn't know what was happening. Maybe this is a gift from a god, a chance to vent my anger before I depart. His hand rose, forming a tight fist. He charged forward with a single thought. Even if this is just a dream, I'll give him a piece of my mind. His target, Brendan's damn face. Jaron lunged his fist, flying. A punch from Jaron landed squarely in the training ground. In his eyes, the scene unfolded with the grace of a butterfly amidst flowers. His fist connected and one of Brendan's cheekbones contorted as the older man reeled in incomprehension. Jaron, too, was stunned by the reality of what he believed to be a dream. Why is this dream so real? My punch feels so weak. But as quickly as it had deformed, Brendan's cheekbone seemed to recover. A moment later, he delivered a swift, powerful blow that sent Jaron flying backward with a cry. He landed with a heavy thud, skidding a considerable distance. Brendan calmly stated, "I thought the lesson was already over." Jaron was still extremely bewildered. At the same time, an uncomfortable groan escaped his throat. What is this? I can feel pain in a dream. Brendan sighed. He said, I understand your frustration. Young master, with the awakening ceremony approaching, and no progress despite your best efforts. Those 3 words from his mouth caught Jaron's full attention. Awakening ceremony. Brendan's voice continued smooth and instructive. But I cannot forgive a student who dares to rebel against his teacher. He stroked the wooden sword in his hand, offering a piece of advice. And as an arcane, you should use a sword, not your fists. Then he turned away, leaving a parting promise. I will see you at the next lesson. Meanwhile, Jaron still couldn't process what was happening, and slanderous remarks from his peers surrounded him. That fool, why did he disappoint his master like that? The insults continued as Brendan walked away. Is this guy really an arcane? He's too incompetent even for a bastard child. The young nobles tried to cram every demeaning word they could think of into his ears, if that was all he could do despite his efforts. But those young ladies and gentlemen would never know that none of their words reached Jaron's ears, at least not at that moment. He was trying to reconnect with reality by wiggling his fingers, touching the muddy ground, letting it keep him in a state between dream and wakefulness. I can't believe it. The realistic sensation of pain from the wound in his abdomen lingered in Jaron's thoughts. The distinct pain he was feeling now, combined with the warmth of the earth on his hands, made him doubt his current reality. Yes, he realized. He stood up with a completely new understanding of the world he was perceiving. This isn't a reminiscence. It's real. Now, Jaron still found it hard to believe. The awakening ceremony will take place in 2 years. Does this mean I've returned to the past? How is this possible? Then a system window abruptly appeared before his eyes. He looked at it curiously, reading each line. Congratulations, you have completed the tutorial mission. It stated, reward activation of Jaron's talent. The words stirred something unknown within him. What? It prompted. Do you wish to receive the reward now? Yes, no. Jaron tentatively raised his hand and touched the word yes on the screen. The word yes transformed into a light on his chest. He was fully alert again. Simultaneously, it informed him, amidst the light on your chest, you have received the reward. All your stats will increase rapidly. The light enveloped him regardless of his inability to yet comprehend what the hell was happening. Another notification appeared. Commencing next mission. In the Crimson Flower Palace, a teacup was set down as a mysterious voice spoke, I understand. Opposite him was Brendan Jaron's sword instructor. Brendan feigned a sigh. To be honest, I've never seen anyone so useless. Then his demeanor quickly changed to a smile. But that's why I'm here, your true master, Brendan. I will teach him to the best of my ability. I will make him strong enough to participate in the awakening ceremony in the coming 5 months. At least that much. The person sitting opposite him was the lady of the Crimson Flower Palace, Cecilia Arcane. She smiled at him. All right. I entrust the boy to you, Brendan. She handed him a bag of money, his fee for teaching Jaron. Please, take a little more care of him. He replied politely, Of course. I intend to teach him day and night. Don't worry. Cecilia said with a mother's trust. I'm not worried. I believe in Jaron. As Brendan stepped out into the hallway, he dropped his act. You should be worried, he muttered. Even if I don't teach him properly, the truth is he's completely useless. He sneered while greedily counting the gold coins in his palm. Like mother, like son. That bloodline won't get anywhere. Let's see. Excellent. Looking at the gold in his hand, he thought, a considerable fee and the title of instructor to the main arcane lineage. At this, his dark, hellish gut couldn't help but grin. As a reward for disclosing information about Jaron and interfering with his development, that person will secure my future. It's as if the arcane fool is my benefactor. Suddenly, footsteps approached Brendan, startling him. He recognized the figure. The fool. Yes, the fool Jaron was striding down the path and passed by him. The sight of that boy always irritated Brendan. He clicked his tongue. Truly. He spat out a venomous remark about Jaron. That failure. Standing under the sunlight, Jaron gazed at the back of Lady Arcane. She was instructing a servant. When she turned away from the servant, she heard her beloved son call out, Mother! He stood before his mother panting. Her voice asked, Son! He said nothing, just rushed into his mother's embrace. You child! His mother thought he must be tired from today's training. But when she felt his tight embrace, it bewildered her. Son, why are you... In a corner, she couldn't see a tear fell from her son's eye, a glimmer of hope that he had truly returned. Jaron hugged her even tighter, knowing he had returned to the past 5 years prior. In his mind, he clutched the painful memory of his mother's corpse from that year, her eyes closed, devoid of any warmth. He looked here, his eyes wide open, despair spreading. Jaron pulled away, pursing his lips into a smile. While she didn't understand the meaning of that expression from her son, he had already made a plan. I must change the future. He still remembered the brilliant light on his chest and the notification. Reward Jaron's talent has been activated. The memory accompanied his thoughts. Right now, I'm still weak with nothing in my hands. But if that mysterious notification window is real, with these useless, empty hands, he swore, I will paint them with the blood-red color of ambition to survive on that throne. I can become strong enough to stand firm in that damned war for the throne. Thinking this, he yearned even more for his mother's embrace. However, while Jaron wasn't paying attention, a system window suddenly appeared before his eyes. A strange light emanated from them, and he froze. Right in front of the old face looking at him was a notification. Tutorial mission punch Brendan in the face. After reading it, Jaron became even more bewildered. Jaron was utterly confused as he read every word. Tutorial mission punch Brendan. What the hell is this? Jaron glanced from Brendan to the system window, wondering, do people normally reminisce like this when they die? I don't think he can see this. Meanwhile, Brendan, looking perplexed, asked, what's wrong? Then Jaron made a decision. He dropped his wooden sword. He clenched his trembling fist, trying to convince himself that he didn't know what was happening. Maybe this is a gift from a god, a chance to vent my anger before I depart. His hand rose, forming a tight fist. He charged forward with a single thought. Even if this is just a dream, I'll give him a piece of my mind. His target. Brendan's damn face. Jaron lunged his fist, flying. A punch from Jaron landed squarely in the training ground. In his eyes, the scene unfolded with the grace of a butterfly amidst flowers. His fist connected, and one of Brendan's cheekbones contorted as the older man reeled in incomprehension. Jaron, too, was stunned by the reality of what he believed to be a dream. Why is this dream so real? My punch feels so weak. But as quickly as it had deformed, Brendan's cheekbones seemed to recover. A moment later, he delivered a swift, powerful blow that sent Jaron flying backward with a cry. He landed with a heavy thud, skidding a considerable distance. Brendan calmly stated, I thought the lesson was already over. Jaron was still extremely bewildered. At the same time, an uncomfortable groan escaped his throat. What is this? I can feel pain in a dream. Brendan sighed. He said, I understand your frustration. Young master, with the awakening ceremony approaching and no progress despite your best efforts. Those 3 words from his mouth caught Jaron's full attention. Awakening ceremony. Brendan's voice continued smooth and instructive. But I cannot forgive a student who dares to rebel against his teacher. He stroked the wooden sword in his hand, offering a piece of advice. And as an arcane, you should use a sword, not your fists. Then he turned away, leaving a parting promise. I will see you at the next lesson. Meanwhile, Jaron still couldn't process what was happening, and slanderous remarks from his peers surrounded him. That fool, why did he disappoint his master like that? The insults continued as Brendan walked away. Is this guy really an arcane? He's too incompetent even for a bastard child. The young nobles tried to cram every demeaning word they could think of into his ears, if that was all he could do despite his efforts. But those young ladies and gentlemen would never know that none of their words reached Jaron's ears, at least not at that moment. He was trying to reconnect with reality by wiggling his fingers, touching the muddy ground, letting it keep him in a state between dream and wakefulness. I can't believe it. The realistic sensation of pain from the wound in his abdomen lingered in Jaron's thoughts. The distinct pain he was feeling now, combined with the warmth of the earth on his hands, made him doubt his current reality. Yes, he realized. He stood up with a completely new understanding of the world he was perceiving. This isn't a reminiscence. It's real. Now Jaron still found it hard to believe. The awakening ceremony will take place in 2 years. Does this mean I've returned to the past? How is this possible? Then a system window abruptly appeared before his eyes. He looked at it curiously, reading each line. Congratulations, you have completed the tutorial mission. It stated, reward activation of Jaren's talent. The words stirred something unknown within him. What? It prompted. Do you wish to receive the reward now? Yes, no. Jaron tentatively raised his hand and touched the word yes on the screen. The word yes transformed into a light on his chest. He was fully alert again. Simultaneously, it informed him, amidst the light on your chest, you have received the reward. All your stats will increase rapidly. The light enveloped him regardless of his inability to yet comprehend what the hell was happening. Another notification appeared, commencing next mission. In the Crimson Flower Palace, a teacup was set down as a mysterious voice spoke, I understand. Opposite him was Brendan Jaren's sword instructor. Brendan feigned a sigh. To be honest, I've never seen anyone so useless. Then his demeanor quickly changed to a smile. But that's why I'm here, your true master, Brendan. I will teach him to the best of my ability. I will make him strong enough to participate in the awakening ceremony in the coming 5 months. At least that much. The person sitting opposite him was the lady of the Crimson Flower Palace, Cecilia Arcane. She smiled at him. All right, I entrust the boy to you, Brendan. She handed him a bag of money, his fee for teaching Jaron. Please take a little more care of him. He replied politely, Of course. I intend to teach him day and night. Don't worry. Cecilia said with a mother's trust, I'm not worried. I believe in Jaren. As Brendan stepped out into the hallway, he dropped his act. You should be worried, he muttered. Even if I don't teach him properly, the truth is he's completely useless. He sneered while greedily counting the gold coins in his palm. Like mother, like son. That bloodline won't get anywhere. Let's see. Excellent. Looking at the gold in his hand, he thought, a considerable fee and the title of instructor to the main arcane lineage. At this, his dark, hellish gut couldn't help but grin. As a reward for disclosing information about Jaron and interfering with his development, that person will secure my future. It's as if the arcane fool is my benefactor. Suddenly, footsteps approached Brendan, startling him. He recognized the figure. The fool. Yes, the fool Jaron was striding down the path and passed by him. The sight of that boy always irritated Brendan. He clicked his tongue. Tsh, truly. He spat out a venomous remark about Jaron. That failure. Standing under the sunlight, Jaron gazed at the back of Lady Arcane. She was instructing a servant. When she turned away from the servant, she heard her beloved son call out, Mother? He stood before his mother, panting. Her voice asked, Son. He said nothing, just rushed into his mother's embrace. You child. His mother thought he must be tired from today's training. But when she felt his tight embrace, it bewildered her. Son, why are you... In a corner, she couldn't see a tear fell from her son's eye, a glimmer of hope that he had truly returned. Jaron hugged her even tighter, knowing he had returned to the past 5 years prior. In his mind, he clutched the painful memory of his mother's corpse. From that year, her eyes closed, devoid of any warmth. He looked here, his eyes wide open, despair spreading. Jaron pulled away, pursing his lips into a smile. While she didn't understand the meaning of that expression from her son, he had already made a plan. I must change the future. He still remembered the brilliant light on his chest and the notification. Reward Jaren's talent has been activated. The memory accompanied his thoughts. Right now I'm still weak with nothing in my hands, but if that mysterious notification window is real, with these useless empty hands, he swore, I will paint them with the blood-red color of ambition to survive on that throne. I can become strong, strong enough to stand firm in that damned war for the throne. Thinking this, he yearned even more for his mother's embrace. Faced with her dagger-like words, she could only agree, "That's right. That's the law." Next, he growled, "Then do you know the punishment for insulting a descendant of the family?" She answered, "Execution." Just like that, clinging to the data of Evelyn's personality firmly in his grasp, he declared defiantly, "Good, you know, so why don't you check?" adding to the pressure within her. What is this feeling? What kind of person is he? But she still held firm to her point. But that was definitely a mana wave. She held out her hand, light emanating from it. "Then let me see." Her magic scanned Geron's body, because she didn't believe that even if he had arcane blood, the law was still the law. At all costs, she had to check. There were simply no exceptions. When she received the results from the magic wave, it surprised her. She thought in bewilderment, "No mana reservoir." The steely evidence in her eyes instantly crumbled. Was I wrong? Impossible. At that moment, Geron knew he had won this round. Geron's voice rang in her ear. "Well, nothing, right?" Immediately, Evelyn knelt, her voice loud and echoing throughout the room. "Please execute me. I was wrong. I will pay with my life." That's right. How could she see it? Because this was my game. How could one obtain a dragon heart? It was very different from a normal mana reservoir, because the existence of a mana reservoir within a dragon heart could be controlled by the user. A smile accompanied his thought. In other words, I can hide my mana at will. Thanks to his learned master and his wealth of knowledge, he had set this trap. And the fact that humans could possess a dragon heart would only become known years later. Geron's hand pointed straight at Evelyn, still with malice in his mind. How could she have guessed? Surprisingly, he touched her back and gently said, "No need." This surprised the prisoner awaiting execution like her with unexpected clemency. Geron smiled. "You were just doing your job, weren't you? Not many would risk their lives like that." Then he turned his back, his calculations in mind. Having Evelyn, one of the strongest indebted to me, will be more beneficial. Next, he spoke aloud. Besides, the reason for restricting the opening of the mana reservoir before the opening ceremony is due to concern about the mana reservoir overflowing. His voice was steady before Evelyn's bewildered expression. The fact that you were worried about me, the arcane bastard, overflowing my mana reservoir makes me very happy. He walked away, leaving a word of thanks. Thank you for taking care of me, Evelyn. But in reality, it was just a trap, a peaceful disguise for the prey of a Venus flytrap. And she was the insect that had fallen into its open maw. He walked away with his calculations, a dragon heart, and 10 years of magical power from his previous life. Geron walked along the corridor with a glorious victory in hand. This life I will be undefeated. A few days later, the new day began with Brendan's thunderous roar in his face. "No, not like that! You have to swing the sword a little more to the right!" The man shouted in exasperation. "How many times have I told you?" Woven between his bursts of anger was Geron's scheme. "I'm getting stronger, but pretending to learn from Brendan is really tough." He silently cursed the bastard Brendan. He knew for sure that Brendan was secretly teaching him bizarre sword techniques. Close to his ear, the man instructed, "A little more to the right." Leaving him busy correcting his posture, Geron was busy arranging his arguments. There's definitely someone behind Brendan directing him. The river of the past flooded his mind. The one who killed me. I have to find out who he is. The river of thought ended with him suddenly realizing something. It made him smile faintly. That's right. So Geron called out, "Brendan!" The man snapped, "Young master, no talking during training." Suddenly Geron broke the wooden sword, then brazenly pointed it straight at him. "I don't understand what you're teaching. It's all garbage." He glared his throat tight as he growled, "How can someone with your skill level become an intermediate swordsman?" Because he realized the mission Brendan had received. Jaren slandered him. "I feel like you'd even struggle against low-level demonic beasts." The humiliation made Brendan's voice tremble. "What? What did you just say?" In reality, Jaren held the reason for his behavior in the palm of his hand. "This is definitely him pretending to be an instructor to monitor me." "So it's decided." He took a step, repeating, "Are you deaf?" He confronted the man, looking straight into his rotten soul. "Your skills are a stinking pile of garbage." And he swore he would get him fired just as he planned. The man screamed, "Young master!" Jaren had successfully triggered his ticking time bomb and also hit his plan. If anything happened, he would definitely have to contact the puppeteer behind him. Camellia Palace. A young man burst through the door shouting, "Ashern! That person delivered urgent news. Have you heard the arcane bastard is going to have a duel with my master next week?" The subject of his news was the young man holding a wine glass, and that person continued to bellow, "It seems he blames his master for his own uselessness. After that fight, he'll surely be crippled." Before that person could realize it, the wine glass had already struck him. Shards of glass embedded in his eye, wine and blood mixed together. The person screamed in pain, "Ah, then lay there." The young man named Ashern gritted his teeth. "So what if the bastard is crippled? What does it have to do with me?" His ruthless attitude was plain to see, but what could be done? He was one of the 4 hounds of the North, the Black Fox Ashern Arcane, and the white-haired person next to him was another of the 4 hounds of the North, the Silver Tiger Gammon. Then the door opened, and a third voice appeared. "He should have been crippled a long time ago." The one who appeared at the threshold was one of the 9 heavenly dragons, Eklovan. He warned first, "It's not good to be subjective." Ashern calmly replied, "I only have to fear those with talent." "You're worrying too much, uncle." He asked, "Why do you even care about that bastard?" Eklovan replied, regarding Jaren, "Things that have never happened can arise from the smallest possibility." He lectured on his reasoning. A spark in the wind can also ignite a flame. Ashern continued to probe in another direction. "But thinking about it, it's also a good thing." He said, "That instructor will handle this for us." A week later, Training Ground 4. Many young people sat in the stands observing the match. Among them were Evelyn and a mysterious man. Below the stands was Jaren Arcane. He silently cursed, "Damn it!" Facing Brendan, his original intention was simple. I just intended to humiliate him and get him fired. Standing in the arena, he realized he couldn't back down anymore. But things have gone too far. Well, he thought, things have come to this. Above Jaren's head, a notification board appeared. Tutorial Mission 3: defeat Brendan and achieve victory. Jaren resolved, "I will take revenge on Brendan." Rewind a bit. Jaren challenged Brendan. "I've said it. Your skills are nothing but trash." Then he bluntly told him, "You're fired, Brendan. Get out." Despite the man trying to shout, "Young Master Jaren," he yelled loudly, "I don't accept this. There's still plenty of time on my contract." But Jaren just turned back and insisted, "So what does that mean? If I say you're fired, you're fired." In his heart, he still harbored the blood-soaked hatred thinking of his past life. "I want to beat him to death right now, but I'm still not confident enough in my abilities. First, I'll separate from him and find out more information about him." Meanwhile, the man clicked his tongue. He thought, not giving up. No. If I'm fired like this, my mission will fail. I have to convince him somehow. So he resorted to pleading with him using legal reasoning. "Young master, please wait a moment. This is a violation of the rules." But what was this? A flash of light from the notification board made Jaren curious. Screw him, he's being loud-mouthed. If I report this to the court... The words before his eyes made him bewildered. What? Suddenly, Evelyn appeared. She suggested, "Then we—" She smiled slyly. "We'll resolve this matter the arcane way." Her sudden appearance left both men momentarily stunned. "Evelyn—" "The arcane way," she continued, "is the rule of the strong. Let's decide with a sword duel. No need to go to court. We just need to follow the will of the victor." As if striking gold, the man whistled joyfully. "Good idea," and thought, "Heaven help me." While Jaren was still tense, her voice rang out steadily. "That day will be in 1 week." She smiled. "Is that all right?" However, Jaron silently objected. "Of course not." Glancing at the man's arrogant smile, he hesitated. "I can't beat Brendan yet." And so exactly 1 week later, the school grounds were packed. In the stands, there was a lot of buzzing and discussion. "From what I hear, he can't even swing a sword properly, huh? Impossible, is he still an arcane?" The murmurs faded. "If he were a normal arcane, I wouldn't say so. He's the cripple of the arcanes." Whispers still echoed in the stands. "How can he defeat an intermediate-level swordsman?" Because Brendan, an intermediate-level swordsman, smiled. "Young master, if you apologize right now, I can pretend this never happened." Before he could even finish boasting, Jaren cut him off. "I should be the one saying that." An apprentice swordsman like Jaren Arcane was retorting against him. "If you don't want to become a one-armed swordsman, you'd better accept the truth." The statement successfully twisted the man's smile. "Even now." He silently calculated each step in his mind, a sinister plan. "I thought I'd let it slide once because he was too pitiful, but this won't do. I'll kill him and pretend it was an accident." His eyes flashed with a purple light. He thought, "The outcome of the match is already clear. Actually, this is even better." Then he said softly, still boasting, "Then attack me first. As your master, I can yield the first blow." At his words, Jaron raised his forearm, gripped his sword tightly, and charged, saying, "Then I won't refuse." On the other side, the man also took a defensive stance. A clang as they collided. The men in the stands realized something. One couldn't help but exclaim, "How can this be? That person judged the match. Look, that fool is about to lose. He really doesn't know how to swing a sword. With this situation, he might die." But regardless of what the crowd said, Jaren's sword still parried the man's attack. This situation made the man laugh. "What's wrong? Young master can't even do anything against an intermediate-level swordsman you despise." And of course, in his heart, he was just as arrogant. This is the obvious result. Jaron Arcane isn't even a low-level swordsman, but an apprentice swordsman. Brendan couldn't hide his smile. Especially during this time he was swinging his sword and assessing. Recently, his skills might have improved a bit, but it's not enough. If he were at least at the level of the 4 Hounds of the North, that would be a different story. He laughed at Jaron's determined resistance. "But there's no way the arcane fool can defeat me." Returning to before the match even began, Jaron rushed in and immediately questioned Eveline. "Evelyn, what were you thinking suggesting that match?" She sat readily on her chair, not looking surprised at all, and calmly replied, "I'm helping you. If you want to get rid of him, you need to be more decisive." Evelyn continued, "It seems he has someone backing him, so just firing him won't solve anything." Her words brought a look of bewilderment to Jaren's face. "Evelyn, how did you know?" She replied nonchalantly. "Because he taught you a bizarre sword style. I had someone secretly investigate him." According to what she observed from his lessons, a voice echoed, "Create a more acute angle." At that time, Evelyn silently thought, "An angle like this seems a bit excessive. Where did this bastard come from?" This made Jaren suddenly think, Evelyn didn't discover this in my previous life. Is it because I attracted her attention due to the mana reservoir incident? Then she put down her teacup and uttered a sentence from her investigation. The results of the investigation had shown her this man walking a misty path. She said all traces of Brendan lead to Camellia Palace. Instantly, the image of a towering castle appeared in his mind, and Jaron knew what it meant. Camellia Palace. So it's all because of this catastrophic war for the throne, those bastards. Suddenly, he pondered. However, he said aloud, "It's surprising you've discovered so much," he said, returning to the harsh reality. "But with my skills, I still can't defeat Brendan. So what will you do?" She smiled. "You can defeat him. You're underestimating your potential young master." Right now, Brendan was charging at him, shouting, "If you kneel and beg, maybe I'll spare you." He brought his furious momentum into a sword strike towards Jaron, only for it to make him reconsider. "Wait! Something's not right." His opponent still had a lot of strength. Jaron had resisted with just the sword in his hand and the red glint in his eyes. He continuously swung his sword. Brendan attacked, Jaron defended. The two fought back and forth, and Brendan realized, he has resisted all my attacks for a while now. Sparks flew from the friction between the two clashing swords. It had been a while before Brendan realized this wasn't the Jaron he knew. What's happening? This isn't the Jaron Arcane I know. Increasingly, his forearm grew tired from the rising number of techniques. He was bewildered. How did his skills increase so much? The turn of events made the crowd observing from the stands gasp. What, he's being pushed back? And amidst the crowd was a suspiciously cloaked figure scrutinizing. While the stands were buzzing with questions, "Did you see him resisting properly?" Evelyn calmly smoked with a smile on her lips. Time rewound. Evelyn suggested 1 week. She promised him, "If I train you for a week, you can easily overwhelm someone like Brendan." She said, "Although teaching you myself is against the rules, Brendan is a bastard who has no right to be a teacher." Receiving her proactive offer, he smiled faintly, because everything was almost too favorable for him. He thought to himself, "I can't help but be amazed by the kiss of the goddess of luck." He couldn't believe things could turn out like this. It was truly worth it to have Evelyn owe me. However, there was one thing that worried him, Jaron thought, and he expressed it. "What reason do you have to help me this much? Is it because of what happened last time?" She closed her eyes and smiled. "That's part of it, but also because there's someone I know who pays a lot of attention to you. He really likes to recruit talented people." And so he overwhelmed Brendan, pushing him back step by step thanks to the results of a week of Evelyn's training. The two clashed swords, the blades forming a right angle based on his technical sword path, increasingly driving Brendan mad. He wondered, from the beginning he had no talent, so how could this be? Brendan tried to press his sword against Jaron's thinking as he pushed. Or maybe he's just been pretending to be stupid all along. But why? Amidst the fierce battle, Jaron suddenly opened his mouth and asked, "Brendan, who is backing you?" This startled Brendan. He swung in a circle, throwing Jaron back. "Backing? What backing?" Seeing his expression, Jaron calmly said, "You think I don't know you've been teaching me garbage lessons all this time?" Brendan shouted, "That's absurd! Do you know how much effort I had to put into—" Before Brendan could finish, Jaron cut straight to the point. "Is it Camellia Palace?" Brendan flinched. Jaron smiled. "You're honest." "Good, Brendan." His footwork was perfectly aligned. He said, "Do you know how it feels?" Suddenly, his sword tip shot straight under Brendan's forearm as he continued, "To have your arm cut off." Before Brendan could realize it, it was too late. The sword flashed, taking his arm. Blood splattered. The arm had been severed from its owner. His pupils followed the flying object. His arm was already airborne. The one who didn't hesitate to swing the sword was Jaron Arcane. In the stands, everyone was horrified, including the cloaked figure. From the wound, a searing pain shot to his brain, making him scream. This was followed by the desperate cries of the man kneeling, clutching the large hole in his arm. He gritted his teeth, repeating continuously, "My arm! My arm, you bastard! You dare!" Jaron's feet stepped closer, accompanied by the thought, "With this, I'm sure I've become stronger." Thinking so, Jaron stood opposite him while Brendan still couldn't believe the reality unfolding before his eyes. Impossible, impossible. Jaron became more certain. "And I can become even stronger." He said, "What did you tell me last time? It's my fault that things have come to this." Brendan let out a breath. "What are you talking about?" Then Jaron Arcane readied his sword from behind his back. He repeated for the other to remember, "It's your fault that you have to die here today." The hatred from his past life could not be washed away in this one. Jaron vowed to take the other's head to avenge himself. His hateful voice rang out, "Among the Arcanes we believe in the rule of the strong." He repeated the words from his past life that Brendan had thrown at him, "You are the weakest." Brushing aside the man's pleas of "wait," Jaron only knew he had cleanly severed the other's head with the blood-stained blade in his hand. The notification board vibrated. "Congratulations. You have successfully completed Tutorial Mission 3. Before the eyes of so many, including the cloaked figure, Evelyn's gaze, and the meaningful smile of the strange man, the notification appeared as the man's head flew off. For exceeding the target, you have received an additional reward. He stood there without a shred of regret. Only the hate in hatred had been resolved. Above, the system asked, "Do you wish to receive the reward now, yes, no?" And it reported, "Reward has been received." In his sharp eyes, in the cold training ground, only the silhouette of Jaron Arcane remained. Before him lay the headless and armless body still on the ground. The surrounding people who saw the scene were terrified. Utter fear was evident in their eyes. Someone spoke as if in disbelief. The fool won. An apprentice swordsman against an intermediate swordsman. It seemed they still hadn't recovered from their shock. How is it possible? On this side, Jaron coldly looked at the corpse and the dried blood in front of him, thinking, "So weak. How could I have been defeated by someone like this before?" Jaron's eyes glinted with a cold, blood-red light, fresh blood splattering on his face, but it didn't matter because now everything was different. But everything will be different from now on. The system notification appeared. Observation skill has been activated as an additional reward. In addition, 1 year of magic power has also been gained. Seeing this, Jaron rejoiced inwardly. Oh, magic power, but what is observation? Just as he was wondering about the new skill, a silver figure leaped down from the sky towards him. A loud boom echoed, followed by the surrounding earth gradually cracking. After that was a huge explosion behind Jaron Arcane, shocking him momentarily, unable to react. From within the explosion, a pair of fully iron-armored legs stepped closer to him. The person called out loudly, "Jaron Arcane!" He turned his head in astonishment, seeming to recognize whose familiar voice it was. Amidst the desolate training ground, a knight in full armor with a majestic posture was smiling satisfactorily at him. It was none other than Jewel Arcane, the demonic dragon commander of the white-armored dragon knights. Seeing that familiar figure, Jaron couldn't believe his eyes. Demonic dragon. His eyes widened in amazement as if feeling an invisible pressure pressing down from above. Countless questions appeared in his head. Why is he here? How long has he been here? The surrounding knights who saw this were also extremely astonished. Some even turned pale and gaped. That's the commander of the white-armored dragon knights. Why is one of the 9 dragons? Evelyn Near, however, was helpless before her commander's way of appearing. She put her hand to her forehead and asked, "Commander, you've ruined the floor. Was it so hard to enter normally?" But on the other side from Jewel, a powerful blue energy continuously emanated as if wanting to sweep away everything around it, destroying everything. Even Jaron didn't understand what was happening, only turning his head to look at the person slowly walking towards him. Huh. What is this? It seemed he still didn't understand what he had done wrong to make that commander emit such killing intent. What did I do? Looking into the other's blazing red eyes full of killing intent made Jaron extremely bewildered. But in response to the tense situation, Jewel Arcane grinned with delight, seeming very pleased with his performance. Of course, Jewel happily walked over and patted his back a few times, praising, "Interesting, very good, very good. I'm really surprised. You carry this kind of thing. Has the student surpassed the master?" But he forgot that their physical builds were vastly different. Just a few pats made Jaron cough up blood, but then he quickly returned to the issue, fearing impending trouble. "A bit reckless, wasn't it, since you killed him? Anyway, from what I hear, that guy deserved it." Hearing those words made Jaron hesitate. "Lord Jewel." With the spirit of an optimist, he quickly burst out laughing. "Ah, forget it." Then he called his full name Jaron Arcane. Hearing his name called, Jaron wondered, "Huh?" He placed a firm hand on Jaron's shoulder and solemnly made an offer so unbelievable Jaron wouldn't have believed it even in a dream. "Join the white-armored dragon knights." Evelyn, as if she already knew, helplessly put her hand to her forehead, but she was also happy with her commander's decision. But for others, it was shocking to the core. They all screamed, "Unbelievable, impossible." The Arcane family's fool recruited into the white-armored dragon knights, even if he fights that well. Suddenly, a mysterious person in a hooded cloak called out to a brown-haired young man beside him. "Hey!" That person asked, puzzled, "Huh?" That mysterious person was none other than Gammon Now. He asked, "Do you think there has ever been a case where an apprentice swordsman, someone who hasn't even undergone the awakening ceremony, was recruited?" Hearing those things made the young man hesitate, unable to respond. But the other young man quickly replied, "I don't know." The white-robed figure also had an answer in his mind. "Of course there has never been." Gammon, sitting amidst the crowd, though not reacting as excessively as the others, was no less astonished by the situation unfolding before him. His whole body gradually sank into his own thoughts. One cannot truly assess a person's potential when their mana reservoir is still closed. Even if their sword technique is excellent, their magical power might still be lacking. His eyes widened, trying to speculate on the situation, as well as the commander's decision. No matter how great Jewel Arcane is, even he cannot be certain. But seeing Jewel's satisfied smile coupled with his own vast experience observing the person he himself had chosen made him wonder, could the demonic dragon see that potential to make such a gamble? Jaron Arcane. That name once again appeared in Gamin's mind. But contrary to everyone's thoughts, right in the middle of the training ground, Jaron voiced his refusal to the commander. "I must refuse." His cold, expressionless face showed that his words were no joke. This made Jewel purse his lips, feeling like he could pull his pants over his head. Amidst the awkward atmosphere, he still tried to force a friendly smile. Even Gammon couldn't believe his eyes and froze stiff. Huh. Evelyn, like the other two, was truly speechless at Jaron Arcane's answer. Everyone around was hit by a freezing spell, collectively agape, unable to close their mouths. Right in that organized, collective, awkward atmosphere, a voice exclaimed, "What?" In the middle of the arena, a heavy atmosphere enveloped everyone. No one dared to speak. Only Jewel still smiled at Jaron, but no one could be sure if that smile carried good intentions. After Jaron refused to join the white-armored dragon knights, rumors quickly spread, causing people to gossip. "Have you heard young Master Jaron's fool? I heard he eliminated his own master." The rumor echoed far and wide, making many disbelieve just as they all recognized the seriousness of this issue. "So is it okay?" Even a close maidservant rushed to report the news while her master was practicing with his sword. The rumor continued to spread among the populace. Well, that just means his master was weak. Actually, he seemed quite useless. This caused a woman who was diligently practicing her sword to stop her training. The people continued to gossip even though the incident had long since ended. And after witnessing that, the demonic dragon tried to recruit him directly into the white-armored dragon knights. The young master refused because he felt his skills were not yet sufficient. Thanks to these rumors, the descendants of Arcane quickly returned to their homes, including the silver-haired young man who didn't mind the harsh snow and wind. On another side, a tall, sturdy young man with tanned skin and a straight back holding a wooden staff also had to stop because of that rumor. A rarely seen humble Arcane. That night, while the snowstorm raged outside, the lights were on inside Camellia Palace, where a conversation was taking place. A woman spoke sternly. Things have become complicated. She crossed her arms, looking out at the snow-covered window, speaking to the person inside. I can't believe he killed Brendan. It was none other than the lady of Camellia Palace, Amy Arcane. A man in a cloak behind her reassured her, Please don't worry, madam. Wasn't it you who sent Brendan precisely because of his poor skills? She turned her head, giving the person behind her a cold look. The death of someone like that is of no concern to us, brother. The one who had just spoken to her was the heavenly dragon Ecloven, a man with stern eyes and a neat military uniform, his hands clasped behind his back. She turned and walked inside, speaking to her brother about her worries. The demonic dragon has approached him. Moreover, they say Evelyn herself ordered it. That means we can't even intervene anymore by assigning him a new master. If he starts to stand out, controlling the Crimson Flower, Palace will become even more difficult. While Amy was speaking, a voice suddenly cut her off. Stand out! The door to the room also burst open. Bathed in the light from outside, a figure appeared. It was Ashen Arcane. He scratched his head as he walked in. He really didn't understand what the woman was worried about. Why is Mother worrying so much? There's no way the head of the family will care about this. Our plan can still proceed normally. His mother, of course, knew that. She crossed her arms and retorted, I understand that the best way to control the Crimson Flower Palace without offending the head of the family is to keep Jaron weak, right? He was very pleased that his mother understood. That's what I'm talking about. Ashern walked past the two, simply waving his hand as he headed towards a table where 2 letters lay. He thought very calmly, Everything is under control. That fool is still weak. How much can someone like that change? Evelyn and the demonic dragon always care about the weak. But Ecloven was not pleased with his attitude. He sternly and coldly reminded Ashern, he should have said, Don't make such hasty decisions. Every word he spoke made Ashern freeze instantly. He fell silent, not saying anything, just gently raising his hand as if channeling his power. All right, since Mother and Uncle are so worried. His eyes also glinted with a deadly purple. Turning around with the letter in his hand, he flashed a demonic smile, having found a new amusement for himself. I'll play with him a bit and make him understand his place. The next day, at the training ground, light pierced through the thick layers of clouds illuminating the field. The storm had passed, leaving behind a gloomy and cold atmosphere. Evelyn sheathed her sword after today's practice session with Jaron. She turned her head and praised him. Well done today, young master. He was also very happy to have completed the training session. Sheathing his sword on his shoulder, he chatted cheerfully. Thanks, Evelyn. It's really different learning from a proper master like you. But she dismissed it, placing her hands on her hips and asking, It would be better if you joined the white-armored dragon knights. Why did you refuse? Thinking of Jules' heroic image, his proud stance, one hand holding a sword, riding a silver dragon with wings spread wide in the sky, made him feel a little regretful. The white-armored dragon knights. It would be a lie to say I don't regret it a bit. That was my dream in my previous life. But now he had his own plans. A silent smile and blazing red eyes lit up. He was satisfied with the current outcome. However, joining now wouldn't be good. The image of himself radiating a brilliant aura with excellent skills welcomed by many made Jaron excited because there was no reason to limit himself too early when he thought about the privileges that would be granted to the head of the family at the awakening ceremony. Joining the white-armored dragon knights couldn't compare. He smiled modestly and replied, "I don't want to receive any special privileges. I still think I'm not good enough. I'm satisfied with you training me for the awakening ceremony." Evelyn didn't notice any loopholes in his answer and also smiled in agreement. "All right, the commander will be disappointed." At that moment, he activated his ability Observation. Only those blazing red eyes opened, followed by a faint stream of power weaving around looking in a certain direction. The person Jaron was looking at was Evelyn. Before him, stats and information appeared simultaneously. Observing Evelyn near, former vice commander of the white-armored dragon knights, rank high-level swordsman. He smiled, satisfied with his new ability. This observation skill is very useful. I'm sure I'll be able to make good use of it later. Suddenly, in those eyes full of spiritual power, something caught Jaron's eye. The status line from Evelyn's information intrigued him. It was the opponent's thoughts and status after a long period of contact with him. Suddenly, from a distance, someone interrupted their conversation. "Excuse me, young Master Jaron." A knight with silver hair solemnly placed his hand on his chest, introducing himself. "I am from the southern checkpoint. My name is Sibylla. There is something I must tell you." This made Jaron wonder, to me, he certainly couldn't trust him. He looks too scary. Who is he? The observation notification board appeared showing the ability had been activated. Observing Sibylla. Sibylla was so overjoyed and excited that he couldn't hide his villainous smile and his face flushed like an 18-year-old maiden. Yes. But without the information from the system window, anyone looking at that appearance would think he was looking for trouble with Jaron. He only had a strong desire for Jaron and just wanted to spar with him. Seeing that smile made both Jaron and Evelyn so scared they were ready to draw their swords. A desire to spar with that appearance with me. The system window also simultaneously displayed a new mission. Final tutorial mission has begun. Abandon the title of Arcane's Fool. Before the battle, Sibylla firmly made his choice. "I want to follow young Master Jaron." He also expressed, "Actually, I've also ignored you all this time. I thought the nickname Arcane Family's Fool suited you very well." Hearing these words, Jaron Arcane was a little annoyed. This bastard. He didn't stop there. He continued to express his feelings. "But I know that you go out every morning and train harder than anyone else." The result of those efforts, he remembered the day Jaron Arcane was dueling before everyone's eyes. "Is your miraculous growth that I witnessed firsthand." Witnessing him being praised before everyone. As he recounted this, Sibylla's emotions erupted. "You are my idol, young Master Jaron. When I wanted to give up on myself after being called the fool of the southern checkpoint, you appeared." He bowed his head with sincere reverence, begging for a chance. "Please give me the chance to duel with you." Jaron Arcane stood there looking, not knowing how to answer. He was still a little wary. Normally, I would suspect his true intentions. This man is Sibylla, 17 years old male. Nickname Fool of the Southern Checkpoint. Rank Apprentice Swordsman. Status. Greatly respects Jaron, wishes to spar with Jaron. He felt that, but it seems he's sincere. He looked at Sibylla so earnest for a moment, feeling very surprised. After defeating Brendan, and when the rumor of me receiving Lord Jewel's attention spread, I thought people oppressed by inferiority complexes would flock to challenge me. Behind Sibylla, a crowd of people had gathered silently observing Jaron Arcane. It seemed he still couldn't believe it. I never expected there would be people willing to follow me. I guess that means people still have some arcane pride. His hand tightened on his sword. All right. I'll also need my own people to become the head of the arcane family. And this mission. Tutorial Mission 4. Escape the title of Arcane's Fool. 28, 100%. Is the final tutorial. The title I've never been able to escape. Tutorial Mission 4. Escape the title of Arcane's Fool. 28, 100%. And this new opportunity, I will completely abandon it. He turned slightly and asked Evelyn, "Can we spare some time?" Evelyn quickly replied, "Of course. Go ahead and show your skills." Gripping his sword firmly, his sharp eyes looked ready for the match. He said sternly, "Jaron, arcane apprentice swordsman of the Crimson Flower Palace awaiting the awakening ceremony. My master is Evelyn Near." She stood behind, smiling faintly. At this moment, seeing he had finished speaking, Sibylla also loudly announced, "Sibylla, apprentice swordsman of the Southern Checkpoint. I inherit the sword art of the Cadet family and am proficient with the sword." Someone shouted loudly, "Duel!" Both quickly lunged, attacking their opponent fiercely. No one yielded to the other. Feeling how fast the opponent was, Sibylla was somewhat astonished. "He's so fast, even though I'm called the Fool of the Southern Checkpoint, I'm still confident in my speed." While he was slightly distracted, Jaron quickly seized the opportunity and attacked. Young Master Jaron's skills are truly... Jaron, on the other hand, felt, "Is this a fool? If this were my previous life, I would have struggled to block a few blows." But of course, as soon as the thought ended, he swung his sword high and then slashed down hard, sending Sibylla flying far away. The move was decisive. "Now this is too easy for me." This blow was so strong that Sibylla couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. He fell hard to the ground, his pants torn in one spot, but he still tried to get up and admit defeat. "As expected from young Master Jaron. I lose. Thank you, sir." At this time, Jaron also expressed his feelings after the match. "I learned a lot. That was a good fight." Suddenly his gaze fell on his reflection on the sword's blade. He suddenly thought of something. "Wait, can I use observation on myself?" He used his ability looking through it, observing Jaron Arcane. "Beyond my expectations. All right." Information about Jaron Arcane appeared. Jaron Arcane, 17 years old, male. Title Arcane's Fool. Talent player. Jaron. Observation. Access denied. Access denied. Access denied. Access denied. Status greatly anticipating the awakening ceremony. Level 1. Stats Strength 13 Agility 14 Vitality 12 Magic Power 190 Intelligence 11 Luck 49 Access denied. You have perceived the stats. Stats will be recorded by number. He read and thought, the abilities I have are classified under talent Jaron Arcane Level 1. That means if I continue doing these missions, I can get 4 more. Thinking this made him a little happy. I can even check my own stat values. Then he looked closely at his stats again. Strength 13, Agility 14, Vitality 12, Magic Power 190, Intelligence 11, Luck 49. It seems my magic power stat is high thanks to magic from my previous life and the Dragon Heart. But why is my luck so negative? He then thought, am I cursed or something? Then he paid close attention again. Magic Power 190. Intelligence 11, Luck 49. Is it because of this that I was so unlucky in my previous life? I need to find a way to increase my luck immediately. He sheathed his sword. Behind him there was a noise that startled him. Huh. He looked at everyone, not understanding what was happening. Evelyn and Sibylla were trying to get up, both looking in that direction. Evelyn thought, even if Brendan was weak, he was still an intermediate swordsman. Young Master Jaron defeated Brendan. He even received the commander's approval. And with the motto, Supremacy of Strength, there were two reactions from the arcane house. Either they were jealous of him, or he became an object of their admiration. She couldn't help but feel proud of him at this moment. And the people gathered here seemed to belong to the latter group. Everyone was overjoyed, praising, "The rumor is true." People thought, "If I were in Sibylla's position, could I have blocked his sword?" Me too. One of them wished he could also fight Geron Arcane. "I also want to spar with him." This person is Ainlon, 19 years old, male, title pillar of Nazan County, rank low-level swordsman, talent passion with perseverance, status eager to spar with Geron. Geron observed all the information about this person. He smiled faintly. Suddenly, he called out that person's name, Ainlon. This made him unavoidably flustered. "You know me, sir." Geron didn't answer directly, but slung his sword over his shoulder and issued a challenge. "Come forward. Fight me." Hearing this, he quickly got into a preparatory stance. "It's an honor. I am Ainlon, the third son of Viscount Nolan. I have learned the soaring sword art." This time, Geron introduced himself more simply. "Geron Arcane of the Crimson Flower Palace. I hope we have a good fight." As soon as the words were spoken, both lunged at each other as fast as a gust of wind. Basic swordsmanship proficiency has increased. He focused on his arm, delivering a powerful blow. But just as the blade was about to reach Geron Arcane's head, he quickly parried it. Then he flicked Ainlon's sword far away. Mind sword art proficiency has increased. He couldn't react in time to Geron's lightning-fast attack. He hastily admitted defeat. "I lose." A notification appeared. "You have received Ainlon's approval. Luck increased by 1. Seeing his luck increase surprised him. "Approval increases my luck. It also tracks my reputation. You have received some experience points." Seeing this, he prepared to attack again. Then, he didn't stop at Ainlon's admission of defeat. He continued to attack. "I just need to keep fighting." The more fiercely he attacked, the more his opponent's endurance in blocking attacks decreased. "You have received Benus Zemo's approval. Luck increased by 1. Both continued to fight. "You have received Egget Moan's approval. Luck increased by 1. The more he attacked, the more approval he received, and the more his luck increased. Just like that, he fought with almost everyone there. "You have received Manfred Norb's approval. Luck increased by 1. "You have received Manus No's approval. Luck increased by 1. "You have received Vphone's approval. Luck increased by 1. "You have received Denigon's approval. Luck increased by 1. His whole body was drenched in sweat, but he still didn't want to stop and wanted to continue sparring, even though more than half of the people were exhausted and tired. Next, who's next? Suddenly, he looked at his stats. "I've fought this much already. Tutorial Mission 4 escaped the title of Arcane's Fool, 29-100%. He couldn't help but be a little surprised, but it only increased by 1%. Then he formed another hypothesis. Is it because these are all people who have already accepted me, or I need to fight stronger opponents, or show off when more people look down on me? I need another event." While people were talking amongst themselves in the back, someone spoke up. "You look quite tired. Are you okay?" He quickly replied, "I'll rest when necessary. Not now." His footsteps approached. "If you say so." An armored man stepped forward requesting a spar. "This time I will request to spar with you, Silver Lion Jinton Nazio." Geron was startled when he heard that name. Jinton. Everyone else was equally astonished. Jinton, one of the 4 Hounds of the North. The 4 Hounds of the North included Huklan J, Snare Jinton Zio, and Ashern Jaeger of Camellia Palace. That was the title for only the 4 strongest in the Awakening Ceremony generation under the Jaeger family. That man strode confidently towards Geron Arcane, stating his purpose. "Jinton Nazio, I came early to see Master Jaren's swordsmanship before the awakening ceremony. Besides that, Jaren was also observing that person. Observing Jinten Natsuo. He also performed the ritual before the match. I also thank you for fulfilling my wish here. Jinten Natsuo. 17 years old, male. Title Vice Head of Natsuo Clan Silver Lion. 4 Hounds of the North. Rank Apprentice Swordsman. Talent Sword, Genius. Extremely keen senses, extremely diligent. Status. Surprised by the appearance of an opponent he never expected. After knowing the information, Jaren also quickly introduced himself to start the match. Jaren, son of the Northern Grand Protector KN, and an apprentice swordsman preparing to join the awakening ceremony. In his heart, he was a little joyful. I never expected to meet the sword genius Jinten whom I respect this way, ignoring the fact that I'm carrying out a mission. His eyes shone brightly, his voice stern. It's an honor to duel with the famous vice head of the Natsuo clan. He always had a thought. I just want to fight him with everything I have. I'm looking forward to a great match. Could his current self? Both were in a ready stance for a match at any moment. Defeat Jinten, one of the 4 Hounds of the North. Both lunged at each other, fighting with all their might. Tutorial Mission 4. Escape the title of Arcane's Fool, 3100%. The 2 swords clashed, creating a loud explosion. Jaren Arcane's eyes were full of determination as he charged forward. Seeing that gaze, Jinten felt more interested in the match than ever before. Unfortunately, Jaren Arcane's sword shattered. At this moment, Eveline, who had been watching the battle, had a complicated expression as she looked at both of them. Seeing the sword shattered, the people below called out anxiously, "Young master!" Before they could finish, the match had ended as the blade fell to the arena floor. It's a pity that Jaren Arcane couldn't block Jinten's sword. The sounds from below also echoed, "Did young Master Jaren lose?" Even so, Jaren Arcane still did his best to stop Jinten's sword, which was at his neck. Sibylla, annoyed, said, "Unbelievable." Orlan explained, "That's the obvious result. No matter how much young Master Jaren has improved." Then he looked at the person before him and continued, "He can't beat the 4 Hounds, the strongest of this generation." Unable to accept Orlan's reasoning, he retorted, "But the fighting spirit the young master showed." While they were arguing, a voice rang out, "I lose." This surprised both of them into exclaiming, "Huh!" Ignoring the bewildered crowd, Jinten assumed a stance to end the match, then shouted, "Thank you for this match." Then he continued, "The sword you're using is worn out. Not to mention you're exhausted. This match is my failure." Those words surprised Jaren Arcane equally. On the battlefield, no one offers such considerations. I lost the moment I lost my sword. He also replied, feeling Jaren Arcane's character. How strange. Jinten smiled unconsciously, then the two shook hands, ending the battle. No fight, no friendship. At this moment, the evening sun cast a magnificent scene. Jinten extended an invitation. I hope we can have a proper match another time. Jaren Arcane also replied, I hope so too. Seeing that scene made Sibylla very excited. See, young Master Jaren is different. Orlan gaped. He's been acknowledged by one of the 4 hounds. The system window also simultaneously displayed a notification. Tutorial Mission 4 has reached 35% progress. Initially, Eveline was tense. Seeing the two shake hands made her relax. Returning to Jaren Arcane after that match, he had silently acknowledged the person before him. He's really strong. With anticipation for their future match, Jinten couldn't hide his eagerness. Jaren Arcane was reminiscing. By obtaining talent and secret manuals through missions, I've become stronger, much stronger compared to my previous life. But I felt it as soon as our swords clashed. He suddenly realized, I'm still far behind. Through this, Jaron Arcane felt the benefits of this battle. It's a pity the match ended so quickly, but I still learned a lot. Not only did my luck increase by 10, but my reputation has also improved greatly. He continued to think, oblivious to his surroundings. Unfortunately, the mission progress didn't increase much, but I can still find other ways. What stage will help me gain approval? Seeing Jaron Arcane distracted for a while, Jinton spoke up. Young Master Jaron, actually I came here today not just to fight you. As he said that, he took out a letter from his person. That letter made Jaron Arcane panic. An image appeared, a scene enveloped in a dazzling red color, with many people around looking at someone with judgmental eyes. At the same time, Jinton's voice rang out, to invite you to join the Serpent Dragon Society. Hearing the name of the society made Sibylla gasp in surprise. Serpent Dragon Society, the high society group that only chosen people can join, and looking down at that letter, he still couldn't keep his composure. And Lord Jinton personally invited you. Though not as flustered as Sibylla, Jaron Arcane was also quite worried about being invited to the Serpent Dragon Society. He voiced his disbelief. Can someone like me join? Your group is very famous. Hearing those words made Jinton quickly interject. Nonsense, you're more than qualified. Besides, it's not too serious a group. Then he explained again, it's simply a social group for peers preparing for the upcoming awakening ceremony. But that explanation deeply hurt the surrounding people. They all expressed in unison, then why weren't we invited? I want to cry. Those words made him reconsider. I don't know Jinton's motive for inviting me, but the Serpent Dragon Society revolves around Ashern. It's full of people who look down on me. It's the perfect environment for me to complete my mission, and it will allow me to spy on Ashern and Camellia Palace. Realizing this was a good opportunity, he continued to analyze. I see no reason to refuse. Then he accepted the letter. Thank you. A confident smile added to Jaron Arcane's charm. If so, I'll join. This time the system displayed a new notification. Tutorial Mission 4 progress 36%. The surrounding sounds of admiration rang out again. Oh, he's even joining the Serpent Dragon Society. Seeing him accept without hesitation, Jinton felt extremely happy. A wise decision. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Then he instructed, the next meeting will be in 2 weeks. Witnessing all this, Evelyn silently smoked, sighing, not knowing what to do now. A little later at the Crimson Flower Palace, a bigger surprise awaited Jaron Arcane. The door of a room opened. Cecilia happily called out, My beloved son, surprised by his mother's appearance. Oh, mother, I was about to tell you. He was about to finish when he saw servants entering one by one, each carrying an item. He asked, puzzled, Mother, what is this? She saw her son's surprise and excitedly explained, I heard you were invited to the Serpent Dragon Society. The Serpent Dragon Society includes Ashern, that cunning Ami's son, and outstanding talents like Jinton. Before she could finish, servants quickly dressed him in clothes. Then she continued to explain, they even have the council's attention. The servants also quickly came forward to measure his body. Everything from how you dress to how you behave, everything will be scrutinized. Then she took the measuring tape again to adjust the width of his clothes. With an air of understanding everything she said, I know you won't have any faults in etiquette, but attire and demeanor are completely different matters. Surprised by his mother's words, he stood still motionless. Seeing her son so obedient, she continued happily. Fortunately, this is something I can help you with. Don't forget that your mother was once an actress. Those words made Jaron Arcane look somber again. So sad. The words, Mother is very happy to be able to help you, my beloved son, made him remember the past. As the illegitimate child of a concubine, a commoner, Mother, you always felt guilty for giving me such a bad name even though it wasn't your fault. In the cold, arcane family. I wonder how difficult it must have been for you to have such a weak child. Still those words, my beloved son. She could no longer hold back and collapsed into Jaren Arcane's embrace, hugging him tightly. Cecilia, though not well, tried to say, your mother trusts you. You can do it. Feeling a trust he had never received before, Jaren Arcane smiled with true satisfaction. Without further delay, he also gave his mother a warm hug. Before the harmonious scene, as everyone around was immersed in it, Jaren Arcane declared, Mother, you don't have to worry anymore. At that attitude, Cecilia wanted to say more, my son is joining the Serpent Dragon Society. But looking at his determined expression, she stopped. At this moment, Jaren Arcane was also silently calculating, I will crush them. Time also passed quickly. It had started to snow. It was 2 weeks later. The night of the Serpent Dragon Society's party was about to begin. And we also see Jinten standing near a carriage, seemingly waiting for Jaren Arcane. Suddenly, he was slightly surprised, looking ahead blankly. A pair of black-booted feet also approached. Finally, we see his face. It was none other than Jaren Arcane, but also a little different, having become nobler and more splendid. In just a short time, he had changed a lot. His eyes had also become more mysterious and attractive. It took Jinten a long moment to come to his senses and realize, is that you, young Master Jaren? You look like a new person. Jaren Arcane heard this and felt embarrassed. Even you're teasing me, Jinten. He also joked back, haha, I'm serious. Then he made a gesture inviting him into the prepared carriage. Please. As soon as he stepped into the carriage, he also noticed his own transformation. He's right. Not only am I taller, but my muscles have also developed more. This is the result of 2 weeks of hard training. Recalling that period, he still felt a headache, remembering Jinten always calling out, young Master Jaren, let's train together. He realized that during that time, Jinten visited him every day. Now the two were quite close. He also saw the stubbornness of each person beside him as they all trained diligently. Jaren Arcane thought, not to mention all the followers I've gained. Realizing the situation, Evelyn was also flustered. I just wanted to teach young Master Jaren for a short time. How did I get into this mess? While she didn't know how to resolve it, Jinten ran over and called, young Master Jaren. Even though it was only a short time, Jaren also felt that period passed very slowly. Those were 2 tiring weeks. In the carriage, Jinten was still excited, saying, I heard this is your first official party. Jaren also replied, ah, that's right. Seeing him there was something strange. Jinten also reassured, no need to be tense. I know you'll do well. It's just that... Hearing that, Jaren Arcane's face became tense, waiting for him to continue. Jinten also quickly explained further, my friend Ashern. He can be a bit mischievous, but actually it was Ashern who gave me the invitation saying he wanted to meet you. So I hope you won't think too harshly of him. He even prepared this party for you. Jinten's words made Jaren Arcane slightly surprised. It wasn't Jinten who invited me, but Ashern. When he thought about it, for some reason, Jaren Arcane felt very interested, thinking, everything is going too smoothly. The carriage was running at high speed, ensuring it would reach the party as soon as possible. In the carriage at this time, Jaren Arcane's voice rang out, I'm really looking forward to it. Along with a strange thought, I'm going to be terribly humiliated. Elsewhere, a slender hand was holding a wine glass. The owner of that hand was no stranger. It was the 4 hounds of the North Ashern Arcane. He looked forward to the party with great anticipation. Arcane's fool. I'm very, very excited to have a new toy. Early the next morning, in a nearby residential area, a carriage had stopped. Following that was a loud call, We've arrived, young Master Jaren. A foot quietly stepped out of the carriage. He leaned over and looked at Jinten Nazio smiling beside the carriage door. Suddenly he saw something in front of him, a magnificent, sturdy castle in two tones of white and blue. To him, this place was too familiar. Camellia Palace. The one who instigated Brendan to interfere with my development, along with those who devoured me, my mother, and even the Crimson Flower Palace. Under the brilliant golden light appearing beneath the blue sky was the majestic Camellia Palace. Jinten raised his hand, gesturing an invitation. "Shall we go in?" Jaren also quickly replied, "Ah, all right." In the palace courtyard, Jinten cheerfully chatted with him. "I received news that Ashern will come out to greet you himself. He must be waiting at the entrance." In Jaren's mind, another thought emerged. The reason Ashern invited me here is easy to understand. Even with Jinten constantly talking beside him, he just immersed himself in his own thoughts. Because the fool Jaron Arcane is on the rise, he must be trying to stop me. As if understanding them clearly, he just smirked. But I didn't come here without a plan either. I'll show him who he's trampling on. A faint light glinted from an earring, attracting Jaren's attention. From a high floor, a window emitted light. Jaren quickly recognized it as the blue light of a mission. "Is there a mission inside the palace?" Suddenly, Jinten rushed from behind, warning him, "Young Master Jaren." From above, an object hurtled towards him. An explosion quickly erupted. White smoke from the explosion billowed out, spreading around. Jinten could only stand and watch the scene. He called out to him amidst the thick smoke. "Young Master Jaren." Jaron slowly stepped out of the smoke, reassuring him. "I'm fine." He stamped his feet a few times, brushing the dust off himself, then looked at the tattered bag on the ground. A pile of powder had also spilled out. He was getting used to this sight. He just said, "Flour." Only Jinten, furious with eyes red as if bloodshot, looked up and shouted, "What are you doing?" Jaren also considered himself lucky because of the experience he had accumulated. If this were my previous life, I wouldn't have been able to avoid it and would have been hit. Looking at Jinten, who was full of anger, he silently thought, "I thought Jinten was also involved in this, but it seems not." He could think that, because the system window had shown him Jinten's status, a look of confusion at the unexpected situation. Then he also looked up high where a window was wide open and the light from within greeted him with flour. From that window, a few bullies were smiling with satisfaction at their performance. The ones who did this. A hand from behind rested on the shoulder of one of them. He spoke, "Well, just a greeting between friends. That's basic courtesy, isn't it, Jinten?" Of course, Jinten didn't let a single word enter his ears. He angrily retorted, "A greeting." That's him, Ashern Arcane. He wore a demonic smile as if what just happened was very normal. "What are you angry?" "Just consider this a greeting between brothers." He couldn't hide his excitement at being superior to others. The system also displayed all his information, a crazed, psychopathic personality, but accompanied by outstanding sword talent. He was also very eager to find a new subject to play with. That subject was none other than Jaron. Jaron silently looked up at his new enemy. He moved his lips, wanting to send a few words to him. "Thank you." He just gently said those two words. This made Ashern wonder, "Thank you." Below, Jaren was still very calm, raising his hand to compliment the recent greeting. "Of course, with the way you welcomed me like that, naturally, I have to thank you. I'm really looking forward to today's party." This made him grit his teeth because things weren't going according to his plan. Then he flashed a satisfied smile, his eyes wide with amusement. You've become much more interesting." Inside the room where a chandelier illuminated the surroundings, all the students were gathered. Murmurs and discussions filled the air. People were gathered here to chat and enjoy the party. A few students among them discussed, "What is Ashern thinking?" Even though he's also from the main lineage. The words continued even as the figures of a group of people entered. Those figures were none other than Jaron Arcane and Jinten. The two coolly walked side by side, gliding past the crowd. The other crowd continued to gossip. Inviting that fool to the Serpent Dragon Society, he still looks fine. Don't you see he's treating him like a toy? Jinten turned to apologize for the situation in the room. Young Master Jaron, I apologize again. They're not normally like this. Jaron also seemed too used to it, so it didn't matter. It's okay. Honestly, I'm even grateful. This made Jinten bewildered, but only Jaron knew this charade. Keep talking. You all need to badmouth me at least to this extent so I can crush you later. He also didn't forget his mission and looked up to the upper floor where the blue light was still shining brightly. By the way, it seems the blue light I saw from outside is in this direction. I'm sure it's a mission, but I have no natural way to approach it. Jaron silently took a sip of wine, his eyes looking forward. From the stairs, Ashern Arcane slowly descended. He saw Jaron and greeted him. Well, enjoying the party. This quickly attracted Jaron's attention. Ashern. He tried to stay calm, reassuring himself. Stay calm, just do as planned. Then he cheerfully extended his hand in response. Of course. Thank you for inviting me, Ashern. Ashern was also very happy with those words. Sorry for what happened earlier. I went a little too far. He quickly approached Jaron, even familiarly putting his arm around his shoulder, asking, Will you accept my apology? His impudent action was quickly warned by Jinten. Ashern. But Jaron interrupted, why apologize? This made Jinten pause. Jaron still maintained a calm expression, tilting his head to give the other his answer. I remember it was just a greeting. His answer made Ashern unable to react, just staring wide-eyed. What? Then immediately, he felt that he and Jaron were on the same wavelength. As if hearing a joke, he didn't hesitate to pat Jaron's shoulder. Oh my God, look at our Jaron. You're so interesting, I never knew you were like this. You've changed so much compared to before. Amidst the crowd looking at both of them, he just laughed loudly and said, I like you already. Those around who saw this as a fun play laughed disdainfully and gossiped. Look at him, he just stands there laughing like a fool. An illegitimate child with no origin can't fight against noble blood. Eklavon, despite Ashern still cheerfully laughing with his arm around him, the gossip continued. Ha ha, that's right. Even if they're arcanes, they're on different levels. It's truly incomparable. Eklavon, the noble sword family from the east with a common woman from somewhere. Jaron just smiled silently, secretly planning. The crowd didn't realize the seriousness of the situation and just kept talking. But why is Jinten hanging around that fool? Every word spoken was aimed directly at Jinten, making him frown, but he couldn't do anything, only silently endure. Actually, if you look closely, Jinten is also illegitimate. Hey, be careful what you say. With that reminder, one of them feigned a reply. Right, that's a forbidden topic. He still spoke, even though Jinten silently bowed his head, enduring. Seeing the figure behind him silently bowing his head, not revealing any expression, made Jaron unable to stand still. He coldly withdrew his gaze, his eyes sharp with murderous intent. I intended to observe a little longer, but this won't do. He called out to the person beside him, Ashern. As a courtesy, Jaron removed the other's hand from his shoulder, smiled, and said, I should also greet my new friends, shouldn't I? Under Jinten's and Ashern's gaze, he just slowly walked to the wine table in the distance, gently picked up an expensive bottle of wine, and then held it out in front of a blonde-haired man who was the instigator of everything. That action made him wonder, what did I say something wrong? Like lightning. Jaron tilted the wine bottle and swung it hard. A crisp, crack sound echoed, followed by the wine bottle aimed straight at his head, shattering. That action stunned Ashern and Jinten. Under Jaren's glaring, angry gaze, the other, having been attacked unexpectedly, collapsed, clutching his bloody head and screaming. He still refused to stay down and struggled to get up, even though blood was flowing from more than half of his head, gritting his teeth and cursing, "This bastard son, you dare!" A kick quickly flew out, a crane kick, landing squarely on the other's face, sending him flying. Blood also shot straight into the sky. Jaron's eyes were bloodshot with killing intent, his expression still not placated. He just said 2 words, "Bastard son." Even though the other was still wailing, Jaron stood from a distance and said coldly, "I was just giving you a greeting. To say that is a bit too much." His action successfully increased the percentage of the mission, escaped the title of Arcane's Fool. Everyone was stunned. What just happened? Is Jaron really stupid? Even Jinton couldn't believe his eyes. Young Master Jaron isn't someone who would do that. Wait, is it because of me? He quickly stepped forward. I'm done greeting. He stepped on the blonde-haired man's arm gently, took his name, his cold eyes asking a question. So should I say goodbye now, right? Seeing his action, the other knew something bad was about to happen and hastily spoke, "Wait." But before the words were finished, his arm had been broken in 2. Witnessing Jaren's brutal act, everyone was frozen. No one dared to move, not even Ashern or Jinton. The system notification also appeared. Progress has reached 58%. The moment the blonde-haired man's face turned purple and drool flowed freely, the progress reached 59%. Done with his work, Jaren just gently released the man's hand. Then he very coolly ran his hand through his hair, coldly looking at the crowd. Anyone else want to say hello? The progress bar at this time also jumped to 66.5%. Suddenly, 4 fully armored knights jumped down from above. Who is it? They all got into a ready stance, drawing their swords in unison and rushing towards him. 4 sharp blades pointed straight at Jaren's neck. They all shouted in unison, "The crime of harming young master!" Jaren wasn't scared at all, just coldly glanced at them. The 4 knights shouted in unison, "Will be paid for with death." This was all part of his plan. Looking at the blades right at his neck, he knew the plan was on the right track. This is more like it. Amidst the crowd, he just asked the name of the unfortunate fellow, "Who are you?" One of them quickly replied, "The 3rd young master of the Hanavi family, young master Jan Hanavi." This was also part of his plan. This is why I came to this Serpent Dragon Society, a place full of enemies. With the blade at his neck, he wasn't scared at all, just let out an "Oh." Oh, one of the 6 families supporting Arcane, the Hanavi clan. Looking at the crowd in front of him, he silently thought, these people won't stand by and watch when the fool they've always looked down on suddenly acts up. A swordsman asked back, "So what?" He suddenly felt a wave of killing intent and raised his guard. Still maintaining his composure, Jaron resolved, "But I'm no longer—" Amidst the crowd, he coldly questioned them. "Dogs of one of Arcane's vassal families dare to threaten me." He glared at each of them as if wanting to kill all those insolent ones. "Can you take responsibility for those words?" The knights at this time felt a terrifying pressure weighing down on them. They felt scared, their faces turning pale. Although they were holding swords to Jaren Arcane's neck, they themselves had to endure an invisible pressure simultaneously, thinking, what is this pressure? Is this that arcane fool? A blonde-haired one among them silently reassessed him. Come to think of it, this guy also has the right to inherit the throne. He's a direct bloodline of Arcane. He began to think even deeper. Arcane is the Lord of the North and the Lord governing the 6 snow families. To declare death for the bloodline of that family. The more he thought, the more he trembled. Is a crime that can lead to the annihilation of an entire family. Then the blonde-haired one realized, it's just that this guy hasn't been taught carefully, but not anymore. We'll have to apologize first. Now Jaron Arcane wasn't waiting anymore. Amidst countless swords pointed at him, he ordered, "Kill them." As his voice spoke, a blinding white light appeared. The knights who had surrounded Jaron Arcane moments ago didn't even understand what happened before their heads flew off. Still standing in place, Jaron Arcane paid no mind to what was happening. At this moment, we see a sword that had decapitated those men. That person also quickly completed Jaron Arcane's order. After slashing, that person calmly stood still in place. The people below were also surprised, unable to hide their astonishment. Even Jinton felt surprised. The system sound at that moment also announced, Tutorial Mission 4 progress 70%. Ashern, who had been watching from beginning to end, also couldn't believe his eyes. Seeing that face clearly, he unconsciously uttered a familiar name, Evelyn. She, however, paid no attention to her surroundings, and just asked Jaron Arcane, "When did you realize I was following you?" Hearing such a question, he nonchalantly replied, "That's obvious." He began to think, "I don't know why, but thanks to her following me, I'll be able to turn the tables without any worries." The ones who had pointed their swords at Jaron Arcane now could only lie scattered at his feet. Returning to the past, we see a wine jar being opened, and the person opening the lid was Jewel. He asked, "You said you wouldn't take any more disciples, so does your new sword disciple satisfy you?" Seeing such a troublesome question made Evelyn feel awkward. She replied perfunctorily, "Don't you have anywhere else to go before I retired? You were always outside." Hearing those words from her made Jewel laugh loudly. "My recent joy in life is making things difficult for you. So, what's your answer?" She continued to ignore him, replying, "That's expensive." Taking a deep gulp, he repeated the previous question. So, what's your answer?" Evelyn knew she couldn't avoid it this time and had to answer the question. "He has far exceeded expectations." As he listened to her, he chugged the wine. "In terms of attitude and talent, he's the best among those I've taught." Jewel was quite surprised and asked, "Ashern also passed through your hands. But this one is the best." This time Evelyn was serious. "That's right. When it comes to talent, I'd say his potential far surpasses even young Master Ashern." She continued to affirm, "These are not empty words." Hearing that made Jewel Arcane feel refreshed. "Because you have two eyes, you'll see things more clearly than I do." Then feeling strange, he asked, "So why did he hide his strength all this time? People can't change so suddenly." Evelyn also agreed with Jewel's words. "That seems to be true." She realized Jaron Arcane's strangeness and said, "But it's strange that someone who has hidden his true strength for so long suddenly starts showing it." She remembered Jaron Arcane's days and nights of training, realizing hasty actions will cause one to stumble. But it seems like he's being chased by something and feels restless. That's why I'm worried about his participation in the Serpent Dragon Society this time. Seeing Evelyn's worry, Jewel put down his wine and began to speak. "If you're worried, perhaps it's because of that brat Ashern. Then just follow him." Those words surprised her. "What?" Jewel explained that it might be different from what she was worried about, but something would happen. At this moment he smiled and said, "When wolf cubs looking for blood gather together, they will start to consolidate their hierarchy." Then Jewel gently placed his hand on his cloak, continuing his unfinished words. "While you're there, try to tempt that Jaron a bit." Those last words stunned her. Before she could react, he had already stepped towards the door, preparing to leave, saying, "And make him join the white-armored dragon knights." Both of them. Suddenly, Jewel turned back. "Do you think you can retire just because you can't ride a dragon? Come back and take responsibility for the person you introduced." "I'm leaving." The wine was delicious. When Jewel left, Evelyn still stood there dumbfounded, looking at the wine bottle and the white cloak. Evelyn said helplessly, "Because it's expensive." Returning to the previous events at the castle where the unstable party was taking place. After reminiscing about why she was here, Evelyn looked at Jaron Arcane, feeling disbelief. This time, she silently reassessed Jaron Arcane. He realized I was following and deliberately set up this situation. Maybe he joined the Serpent Dragon Society with this purpose from the beginning. He's someone I don't need to worry about. Remembering the path she had followed, she still found it hard to believe. But since when did he realize my presence? He's definitely not an ordinary person. Regarding Jaron Arcane, realizing Evelyn's thoughts, he also silently thought, I sensed her from the moment I stepped into the carriage. The owner of the dragon heart remembered that this heart of Jaron Arcane could enhance their sensory abilities, also known as the sixth sense. Anyway, thanks to that, the stage has been set. Now, then he called Evelyn and nonchalantly asked, most people here have shown disrespect towards someone who could inherit. What is the punishment for such a crime? People around felt scared at his words, only daring to utter, what? Not caring about that crowd, she replied, according to family law, then added, execution can also be immediate. The charade is also coming to an end. Jaron Arcane just smiled with satisfaction. Everything is as I calculated. Then he ordered her, since they are all children who haven't undergone the awakening ceremony, just take one of their arms and end it there. Hearing this, Evelyn also rushed towards that crowd, replying, understood. Seeing this, they tensed up and hurriedly said, wait! Her sword without hesitation flashed, severing arm after arm. The second son of the Bison family, the eldest son of the Red and White Mercenary Squad, the fourth daughter of the Sez Merchant Guild, the third son of the Class family, the first daughter of the H family. The system sound also rang at the same time. Tutorial Mission 4 progress 72%, 75%, 79%. One ran over, knelt, and begged Ashern, please save me, please. Even seeing him crying and begging, Ashern paid no attention, looking down at him like a fool. Why should I? It was just a greeting. Ashern's words made him stunned. What? Before he could finish speaking, the sword in Evelyn's hand had already slashed down. Glancing over, she called out the name, eldest son of the Fen family, automatically ignoring his screams. Seeing this scene, Ashern stared at Evelyn. Their eyes met at the same time. This time, Ashern opened his mouth and said, I didn't expect to see you like this again, Evelyn. She also greeted back, long time no see, young master. After she finished slashing, the system continued to report Tutorial Mission 4 progress 82%. What just happened made Ashern think. She only targeted those who made comments about lineage. She made it so that even I, as an heir candidate, couldn't stop her. Besides that, he then looked at the others departing back. Evelyn had approached Jaron Arcane and reported, I have cut off the right arms of the 14 people you ordered me to. Hearing this, he also said, well done. How is their condition? Without any need to hide, she continued to report, if they take their arms to a priest right now, they will be able to reattach them. Although their lives as swordsmen will be another matter. Seeing nothing to worry about, Jaron Arcane replied, good. Jinton, who had been witnessing this, hurriedly asked, young Master Jaron, are you all right? Looking at the harmonious scene before him, Ashern realized that both Jinton and Evelyn had been engrossed with him for some time without him noticing. Suddenly he laughed and thought, Jaron Arcane, the fool of the Crimson Flower Palace, has really changed. Ashern's evil intentions arose. I want to trample on you. Not wanting to stay here long either, Jaron Arcane said, let's go, Evelyn Jinton. Hearing this, they also agreed, saying, all right. Jinton, without thinking further, shouted, let's go. This time Ashern's gaze of extreme disgust lingered on Geron Arcane for a long time. Without any reservation, Geron Arcane stared back at him. Next, Geron Arcane stepped forward and patted his shoulder. His hand rested on him for quite a while. For some reason, Geron Arcane smiled strangely and incomprehensibly at this moment in front of everyone there, saying, "The party was fun, Ashern." At that moment, the system announced, "Tutorial Mission 4 progress 100%. The system sound made Geron Arcane even more satisfied. He bid farewell. "See you later." Those words made Ashern furious. The system rang again. "Congratulations, you have completed Tutorial Mission 4, along with Evelyn." Before Geron Arcane could leave, Ashern shouted loudly in indignation, "Geron Arcane!" The sound echoed throughout the castle. This time the system continued to report, "All tutorial missions have been completed. From now on, no one will call you Arcane's fool anymore." Geron Arcane's mood became better than ever. Mission accomplished. Not wanting to stay here any longer, the three quickly left. Geron Arcane thought, "The next step. But my real revenge is just beginning." The reward this time for completing the mission was an experience potion, which had the effect of increasing 5 levels. The evening sun gradually set along with the gently drifting clouds. In the castle, in a corner of a window illuminated by the evening sun, someone was working. Suddenly they exclaimed, "What?" staring intently at the person reporting the situation hesitantly. The person who was extremely astonished was Amy Arcane. She tried to suppress her emotions and asked, "Say it again." "Ashern's Serpent Dragon Society." Elsewhere, in a humble tavern far from the capital, the atmosphere was extremely lively. Sibylla raised his wine glass high, laughing and joking, to celebrate young Master Geron's unexpected debut in high society. Those words made everyone around happily raise their glasses and clink them. Cheers! The sounds of cheering and singing added to the lively and bustling atmosphere of the party, making Geron Arcane relax. As he was raising his wine glass to drink, he suddenly heard a voice beside him say, "Defeated by that fool Geron." This caught Geron Arcane's attention. At Camellia Palace, where night had fallen, in a certain room in the palace, a sharp crack sound echoed. Looking closely into the room, Amy couldn't hide her anger and shouted, "Not only did you give that fool an excuse, but you also let your subordinates have their arms cut off." Even though Ashern was beaten, he didn't justify himself and just replied, "Yes." Seeing her son like this, she became even angrier. "Listen to yourself. I've warned you time and time again not to underestimate him. Forget about forcing him into submission. You just gave him an excuse to cause trouble." She continued to warn Ashern. "I told you once that lowly Geron Arcane starts to stand out, taking over the Crimson Flower Palace will be much more difficult." Knowing his mistake this time, Ashern said, "Mother, don't worry, I will." But now Ami's mood was not good at all. "I don't want to hear it anymore. Go and reflect on what you've done. You have to question yourself for almost ruining our grand plan just because you pursued superficial pleasures." Those words were like thorns stabbing deep into Ashern. He said nothing more and just said, "I will remember that," then quickly left, leaving Amy still seething with anger. When Ashern left, she voiced her thoughts. "Tisk. I don't know who he takes after to be so impulsive." From the darkness, a figure emerged, saying, "Well, he's exactly like you when you were young, madam." Those words annoyed her. "Do you think this is a joke, Ekloven?" Ekloven stepped out from the darkness beside Ami and said, "Don't be so angry. This incident might not be so bad after all." Those words puzzled her, asking, "Why?" At this time, he began to explain. "The Crimson Flower Palace originally belonged to the harem of the clan head, so it's very difficult to gain possession of it, even though it's outside the clan head's interest because it's just a gathering place for mediocre people. But it still has the backing of the clan head." Ekloven's expression was stern as he continued. Therefore, what we need. He clenched his fist, his voice firm as he continued, is an excuse. He said, fortunately, he created a mess at the Serpent Dragon Society. Jaron is gradually becoming the representative of the Crimson Flower Palace. Therefore, we can use this incident as an excuse and then use legal means to crush him. The method Ekloven proposed startled Ami, and she also began to reconsider. The reason I was worried when Jaron became stronger was because I was afraid that the influence of the Crimson Flower Palace would spread if the clan head paid more attention to it. But by using Jaron, who is becoming stronger and stronger, if our Camellia Palace uses the correct legal procedures to eliminate them, then she began to plan the next step. Then the Crimson Flower Palace will have no choice but to submit to us, Ekloven. We can manipulate them without any effort. Feeling satisfied, Amy folded the fan she was holding, becoming cheerful again, and asked, "So how long will the preparations take?" As expected, Ekloven replied succinctly, "We've already completed the preparations." He told her, "Tomorrow morning when you wake up, you will hear some joyful news." From his sleeve, he took out a gift box and gave it to her. "So tonight, just enjoy a bath and a good night's sleep. I even prepared an aromatic candle from the Aegean volcanic region in the south." Those words made Amy overjoyed, and she hugged him. "You really are my brother." In response to those actions was a heartfelt sentiment from her, "That's why I can't help but love you." Returning to the tavern at this time, Jinton sat in a corner, unable to blend into the joyful atmosphere. "Actually, I'm quite shocked. I didn't know you cared about me that much." Young Master Jaron, who had been listening, also didn't understand what he was doing. "What are you talking about?" Jinton lowered his head and said, "I'm talking about the Serpent Dragon Society." The confusing answer made Jaron think, did he get drunk just from drinking orange juice? Now Jinton felt guilty for what happened. He continued, "While you endured insults about yourself as soon as they started insulting me, a friend, you didn't hesitate to protect me. Young Master Jaron, I couldn't do anything. It's so shameful." After saying that, Jinton felt less burdened, but still ashamed. "The more I look at him, the more surprised I am." Glancing over, Jaron still hadn't processed those words. Then he thought again. He endured all that time being looked down upon, considered a useless, illegitimate child, but in the end, he became strong. Not to mention, Jinton's thoughts continued to drift. Even against those he wasn't strong enough to defeat, he still had the strong will to win completely. Against Camellia Palace, where no one dared to confront, he bravely drew his sword without hesitation. The more he thought, the more moved he became. All because of me. The system sound also announced Jinton Nazio has been deeply moved, believing that Jaron cares a lot about him. That sound also made Jaron Arcane feel awkward, silently thinking, it seems he misunderstood something. After thinking for a long time at this moment, he made up his mind. The family has ordered me to build a friendly relationship with Ashern, but I have other intentions. I won't hesitate anymore. Jinton declared, "From now on, I want to follow you, young Master Jaron." As soon as the words were finished, the crowd also cheered in celebration. As expected, the strong always go with the strong. The two of you are amazing. Realizing this unexpected event, Jaron was a little flustered and said softly, "Wait, I think you're misunderstanding." From somewhere, Evelyn's voice echoed in his head, reminding him, "Just go along with him." This made him immediately realize it was telepathy. Then he turned his head to look at her. Evelyn smiled back at him as if guessing what Jaron Arcane was thinking. She spoke again. "This misunderstanding isn't necessarily a bad thing." Besides, Jaron at this time also realized that everyone was extremely excited, especially Jinton. All of them were currently enjoying this rare, relaxing atmosphere. Evelyn's voice echoed again. "Perhaps everyone just wants to get along with you, young master." All of this made him extremely flustered. Finally, he sighed and said, "I'm not someone special." His eyes gradually became gloomy. "It's all thanks to this notification window." Before Jaren Arcane's eyes, a large screen appeared filled with his information. Looking at it, Jaren Arcane hesitated, then thought, whether it's returning to the past, receiving the Arcane family's talent, or becoming this strong, a lingering mystery within me. I wonder what this is. Initially, I thought these were fragments of my regrets, but looking at its detail, I don't think so anymore. Unconsciously, he realized he had a vague feeling that he had encountered this before. But whatever it is, it's helping me, so it doesn't matter. The system window also clearly displayed his attributes. Just by looking, Jaren Arcane knew clearly. The Serpent Dragon Society incident ended and my level also increased. While everyone was celebrating, he continued to study the system window. It seems that every time I level up, I get points to increase my stats, so I think I can increase my abilities at will. Understanding that made him exclaim, "How terrifying." But he quickly became extremely happy knowing the glorious future that "you've become much stronger" will bring. Eveline, who had been watching him, didn't understand what Jaren Arcane was so happy about. After a while, Jaren Arcane finally calmed down. "All right, first I should prepare for Camellia Palace's counterattack." Then he called, "Jay, by the way, can you do me a favor?" Hearing the call made Jinten quite surprised. "Of course, young Master Jaren. Tell me." He quickly realized, but you just called me Jay intimately." Not waiting for him to finish, Jaren Arcane took out a piece of paper, raised it, and said seriously, "The war for the throne between me and Ashern will intensify soon. To prepare for that, help me with this." This action made Jinten freeze for a long moment. Jaren's eyes became profound. In the future, Jinten will become the head of the Nazio family. His thoughts drifted, remembering Jinten's appearance when he had enough power, and their forces will be strong enough to confront the Arcane House. I should use this opportunity to pull Jinten to my side. The paper containing his belief was still being held out hopefully. "Take this, Jinten." At this time, Jinten still didn't understand what this paper contained, but he still took it from Jaren's hand, then happily replied, "All right. I have sworn to follow you, young Master Jaren. If there's anything I can do to help you, whatever it is, I'll do it." Even knowing he would accept, Jaren was still moved and said, "Thank you." After hearing that Jinten didn't wait anymore and asked, "But you just called me Jay quite intimately." Suddenly, from somewhere, a rude voice rang out, "Jaren Arcane!" This shocked everyone at the party. A troop of fierce knights brazenly entered. The surrounding people became vigilant, calling out, "The law!" As soon as the name "the law" was called, the man without a moment's hesitation took out a document and called Jaren Arcane's name. He said, "You are under arrest for threatening and assaulting." His words made Eveline retort, "What nonsense is this?" Seeing everyone becoming impatient, Jaren hurriedly stood up and requested, "It's okay, calm down." Then he stepped forward to look closely at the document. "Let's see." After looking for a moment, he mused, "It's a real arrest warrant." Looking at the words on the document, he noticed the ink wasn't even dry yet. They must have been in a hurry. Without needing to think further or resist, he walked over and requested, "Let's go now." That man, without any reservation, handcuffed him and led him away before the astonished eyes of everyone there. "Young Master Jaren." Hearing that call, Jaren Arcane looked back and smiled meaningfully. Jinten and Eveline seemed to understand something. Quickly, Jinten looked back at the paper Jaren Arcane had given him earlier. Eveline also paid attention to that paper. At the Crimson Flower Palace, upon hearing the news, Cecilia Arcane turned around and asked, "Where was Jaren taken?" Then she collapsed to the ground. "The court." The old butler, seeing this, was terrified. "Madam." She hurriedly waved her hand. "It's okay." Then she asked again, "What are they accusing the boy of?" The old butler stammered in reply, "That it seems to be because of the Serpent Dragon Society." The old man continued, "They accuse him of inciting rebellion." The more she heard, the more shocked she became. "What?" she asked softly again. "Do you think they'll really take this case to court?" He hesitated for a moment before answering, "Yes, I believe so. Because he completely destroyed the Serpent Dragon Society. This won't end easily." She couldn't help but feel a headache. Who could have imagined that inviting the boy to the Serpent Dragon Society would lead to this result? No, the boy will overcome it. Jaron is that kind of person. Then she stood up with the old butler looking up at the sky. She hoped, "Son, please return safely." Sunlight shone through the window. Jaron Arcane squinted slightly. Beside him, two people were sitting guard, taking him for punishment. He opened his eyes and observed the scene in front of him. Looking at the scene before him, he suddenly remembered, "It's been a long time since I returned to this place." The carriage moved through this gate. The court. He thought to himself, "Because I completely destroyed the Serpent Dragon Society, this won't just end with imprisonment. They will definitely take this case to court." The wheels continued to roll steadily. In his thoughts, it still swayed. Bringing the heir of the arcane house to court means they want to question my legitimacy as an heir. The carriage stopped before the courthouse door. The driver shouted loudly, "We're here!" He was escorted down from the carriage. "They probably want to destroy me completely." His mouth opened slightly. "But that's exactly what I expected." Heavy footsteps entered. The courthouse door opened. A call from within echoed out here. "Prisoner Jaron Arcane has been brought in." That voice still hadn't stopped. "Bring him in." His eyes at this moment suddenly had a few more degrees of determination. "That's right. If I want to unleash what I've prepared, it has to be on a grand stage like this." Inside, there were rows of large chairs arranged high up. More than half of the judges had also arrived. Looking at the people sitting there, he wasn't very surprised. Indeed, many talented people have gathered here. That person wearing the blindfold is the demonic dragon Jewel Arcane captain of the white-armored dragon knights. This person is one of the 4 of the 9 dragons protecting Arcane. The next person is the heavenly dragon Eclevan, head of the Central Intelligence Bureau. He suddenly remembered before. If this were my previous life, I would have been so overwhelmed I could hardly breathe. Then the next one is the sword dragon Osa, Arcane lady of the Manhwa Palace. The man sitting solemnly in the middle is the head dragon Votgang Arcane, head of the Votgang Arcane Council. He said sternly, "Jaron Arcane." At this moment, someone came forward to remove the chains from his hands. He replied on one side, "Yes, head councilman. I didn't expect to meet you in a place like this." As soon as he finished speaking, he sank into thought. Votgang, the head councilman, values lineage. To him, an illegitimate child like me must be disgusting. He commented, "He doesn't even bother to hide it." He didn't beat around the bush anymore and went straight to the main point. "Enough with the long greetings. You know why you've been summoned here to answer for your crimes, right?" He stood below, looking up and listening to the verdict from above. "The Bison family, the Sez Merchant Guild, the Red and White Mercenaries, and even the Hanavi family. Because of your foolish actions, all of them are clamoring to sever ties with the family." He himself couldn't help but get angry. "You, an illegitimate child, can you bear the losses you've caused? Therefore, I will hold you responsible for dragging the honor of the Arcane family through the mud." He stood there listening intently. After he finished speaking, Jaron calmly replied, "What you say is absolutely right." He also quickly admitted his fault before the council. "I was too reckless." But his eyes suddenly changed. "I should have beheaded them, not just their limbs." The person sitting beside him was surprised. "What?" He began to use his words to explain. "They are our subordinates. The master grants them land and honor, and the subordinates must offer their loyalty and lives. This is the way of the knight. The more he spoke, the more eloquent he became. Yet they dared to threaten their master. At this point, his anger erupted. If I had known they would be so insolent, I would have beheaded them from the start. They must be punished, and the principles of knighthood must be restored. Geron shouted loudly, "How can I stand by and watch the honor of the arcane family maintained for over 1,000 years be trampled like this?" Everyone who heard him speak was speechless with anger. Jewel, hearing his words, was impressed with him. Impressive indeed. As expected, this shouldn't end with ordinary punishment. Vought Gang said loudly, "Do you dare mock me with such flowery words?" The lady of Manhwa Palace Osa Arcane also spoke. "I have listened to your opinion. Logically, you are right." Hearing this, he was a little displeased and reminded Sword Dragon, but she ignored his words and continued. "However, even if Arcane is strong, it is not truly as great as that. If we do not listen to the voices of our vassals and knights, we will collapse." She also added, "Because one cannot rule this world solely by brutality." He seemed to understand her meaning. "I will remember that." He looked in that direction without wavering, feeling something. The first wife of the clan had the best swordsman in the North Sword Dragon. Fortunately, it seems she doesn't have a hostile attitude towards me. He suddenly remembered the devastated scene of the past. "But why did she—" She continued, "I hope you understand that the punishment you are about to receive is just." He spoke up and asked, "May I ask what that punishment is?" He thought for a moment, then made a decision. 3 months of house arrest. Hearing this, he was a little disappointed. "But the awakening ceremony will take place in only 2 months," he said angrily again. "How dare you say that?" The woman sitting next to him explained further, "I have taken that into account and decided to allow you to participate in next year's awakening ceremony." And everyone discussed together before. "And it has also been decided that the 15 children you injured will participate in next year's awakening ceremony." Eklevan silently thought, "Thanks to the demonic dragon's intervention, the punishment is lighter than I expected." During the discussion, Jewel Arcane stood up and objected, "I object to Jaren's punishment." Eklevan thought this wasn't too bad. "Being postponed from the awakening ceremony is a great humiliation for you in the Arcane family." He suddenly smiled sinisterly. "And the representative of the Crimson Flower Palace bearing that humiliation will create an opportunity for our Camellia Palace to overcome. Once our plan is executed, he won't be able to do anything anymore. He can only accept it." He saw this as a good opportunity. "If he foolishly tries to appeal, we can kill him. But I don't think he's that stupid." Jaron bluntly objected, "I want to appeal." Everyone was surprised that he wanted to appeal. Eklovan clutched his face to suppress his laughter, his heart constantly shouting with joy. "Are you stupid? Your arrogance truly has no limits. This makes things easier for us." Jewel, stunned, asked again, "Do you understand what an appeal means?" Jaron replied decisively, "Of course." He seemed to know something. "I know that this cannot be resolved with just 3 months of house arrest. It's no different from a light slap. The demonic dragon must have pulled some strings." He explained, "In a strong and proud arcane family, an appeal means," his voice full of power, "war." According to his thoughts, "But I have no intention of accepting even that light slap." He smiled lightly, provocatively. "In the end, only the victor has the right to speak." He seemed to have some expectation. "On the contrary, I even expect to be rewarded." A notification appeared, entering the main scenario. Everyone was stunned by his provocative words. The notification rang out. Through this scenario, you can discover many hidden mysteries in this closed world. Good luck. Scenario Mission 1. The Heir's Path. A scene of a village being scorched by the flames of war. The northern branch. The secret of the Sez Merchant Guild. 2 people were fighting. The other was defeated and fell to the ground. The fire blazed even larger. The man in the cloak stood still there. Around him, many people defeated by him lay scattered. Behind a voice came, "So they were hiding there." That person was Evelyn, smoking a cigarette. She suddenly turned to look just as Jinten Natsuo approached holding a small box and continued, "Just as young Master Jaron said." Eveline took off her hood. Ecloven's demonic smile echoed. Choi Van's Camellia Palace has completely collapsed. Here it was like a court was in session judging some case. Those present included Jaron and people from the Votgang Arcane family. He clasped his hands together, looked down at the person below, and spoke, "Are you intending to turn something that can be resolved in 3 months of house arrest into a war?" He reminded him, "You are truly arrogant. Do you think you alone can confront the forces of 15 families?" Jaron Arcane coldly replied, "That is something I must resolve myself." He calmly stated his thoughts. In cases of such great power, disparity isn't fighting through representative battles the normal way. After listening to Jaron's presentation, Jewel Arcane pondered the matter. Normally, an appeal means deciding the winner and loser through war. However, in cases where war is almost impossible due to too great a power disparity, and thinking this, he imagined 2 opposing sides. Each side will send a representative, and the winner will be decided in a one-on-one sword duel. That is a representative battle. He silently thought, this means the representative of the defendant's side will be Jaron, while it's highly likely the representative of the plaintiff's side will be Ashern. He didn't know what Jaron was planning in his head. If that happens, Jaron will almost certainly lose. So why did he choose this way? Does he have some scheme? He looked at him with disappointment. If he believes that Evelyn or I will step up as representatives, then he is mistaken. He looked at him with disappointment. Jaron Arcane extended his hand and continued to present. According to the rules, we will decide the representatives and hold the representative battle after 1 week. He asked those sitting high up. What do you think? Eclovan, sitting high up, looked down at the person below and thought silently. This is an obvious tactic, Eclovan calculated. He's planning to have the demonic dragon or Eveline as his representative. But knowing their personalities, they won't do it. You'll have to fight for yourself, Jaron Arcane. He tilted his chin up arrogantly, looking down at the person below. I'll send Ashern and make you understand your place through death. Then he laughed coldly and replied, All right then, about the representative. Before Eclovan could finish his sentence, another voice interrupted their conversation. I thought you were a quiet child. The imposing voice that had just been transmitted made everyone present tremble with fear, breaking out in a cold sweat. The door slowly opened, revealing a large figure, the owner of the voice from earlier. That person continued, But you're very good at scheming. The voice rang out again, making Jaron terrified. The person entering was the clan head Kai Arcane. His blood-red eyes with black stripes like a snake's saw through everything. He said coldly, You've changed a lot since I last saw you, my son. Immediately, all 4 high-ranking individuals had to kneel in greeting. Greetings, clan head. Jaron followed suit and also knelt in greeting to him, placing one hand on his chest, saying, Jaron Arcane, apprentice swordsman, pays respects to the great incarnation of the dragon god. Suddenly, the system window appeared before him. The system window presented him with a mission. Scenario Mission 01, The Heir's Path. Seize Camellia Palace and discover its secrets. Jaron Arcane silently thought, This is my first mission since completing the tutorial. The secret of Camellia Palace was that the blue light. The situation was too chaotic, I forgot about that. There must be something there. Jaron closed his eyes to regain his composure. No. Now is not the time to be distracted. Then he slowly opened his eyes, facing it. Seeing his esteemed father walking towards him, Jaren continued to think, I need to resolve this first. A variable has just appeared. My plan might go off track. But he also couldn't help but wonder, why did father come here? Kai Arcane allowed him to stand up. Stand up, my son! Following his order, Jaron also slowly stood up. He spoke about Jaron's matters that he had heard from others. I heard about your situation on the way here, and it seems you're in a complicated predicament. I heard you want to appeal with a representative battle. Jaron Arcane was a little worried after hearing what he had just said. That's right. Kai Arcane raised his hand to his chin, pondering. If that's the case, it will be very difficult for you to participate in that representative battle. He said sternly, Who do you intend to choose as your representative to replace you? Jaren was wary of his question. This is a test. Eklevon, who was kneeling, also realized the situation, so worried that he broke out in a cold sweat. Wait a minute, is this? Jaren Arcane, standing opposite him, replied, Who wants to represent me? There's no one like that. I originally intended to step up myself to appeal. Kai Arcane also replied, Then you will lose. Jaren was no pushover either, and boldly replied to him, How can we know without trying? He stood straight, his hand on his chest, confidently declaring, Even if I'm forced to bow, I will not lower myself. Hearing him say that, he suddenly bared his teeth and then laughed loudly. Did you all hear that my son's words? Kai Arcane repeated the sentence Jaron had just said for the others to hear. Even if forced, I will not lower myself, Kai shouted loudly. There is no phrase that describes the Arcane family better than that. Jewel Arcane, standing to one side, could only sigh helplessly. Kai Arcane, with his hands on his hips, said loudly, Your attitude truly pleases me. Jaren bowed his head, thanking him. Thank you, Father, for the praise. He rejoiced silently in his heart. The representative battle is not just a decoy. I didn't intend to fight, so it's good that I can speak the truth without hiding. Jaron recalled everything when assigning tasks to Evelyn and Jinton. The work I assigned to Evelyn and Jinton, evidence of Camellia Palace's rebellious plot. He smiled, calculating everything. If I have it, I can win without fighting. Suddenly, Kai Arcane spoke, cutting off his train of thought. Then I personally want to give you a chance. As the master of Arcane, Akai Jaeger. His words just spoken made Jaren have some doubts in his mind. Want to try a single blow with me? Kai Arcane continued. Forget the trial. If you can withstand a single blow, I will clear all your charges. Jaren Arcane was extremely surprised at this, silently thinking, what a single blow. He said it while turning his back to leave. Suddenly a voice interjected, making him turn his head back. Clan head. It can't be. It turned out to be Eklevon, who had just called out to him. He looked very angry at this moment. He silently thought, trying a blow with him means you accept your opponent. As he thought, he imagined Jaren Arcane wearing luxurious attire beside him, a cool-looking dragon. If he survives, he will become someone accepted by the clan head. I don't think that damn Jaren can withstand it. He clenched his fist tightly. But just in case, if he can. No, I must prevent him from being valued by the clan head. Said and done, Eklevon began to make excuses. How dare those vassals and soldiers comment on the bloodline of your son, clan head? Kai Arcane at this moment growled, Heavenly Dragon. His voice radiated power. Silence! If a vassal dares to say that you just need to eliminate him. He only now knew fear. The tone in his voice also gradually lowered. I understand, clan head. Then he paid attention to someone. He directed his gaze to Jewel Arcane and asked, Do you have anything to say? Demonic dragon? You've been chuckling for a while now. Jewel Arcane bowed his head and smiled, saying, Nothing. It's just been a long time since you've shown such interest, clan head. He replied, "What nonsense are you talking about?" He also quickly changed the subject. "Enough with this conversation. So what about you, son? Will you do it?" Jaron. Arcane stared at him silently, thinking, "A single blow from the clan head. Things have changed in a way I couldn't even imagine. My plan has collapsed." He bared his teeth and smiled. "But a change like this is also good." Jaron placed his hand on his chest, bowed his head, and replied to him, "That is too heavy for me. How can I compare a blow from father to a representative battle against vassals and soldiers?" Kai Arcane frowned, looking at him and asking, "You don't dare." His expression at this moment changed quickly coldly, saying, "No, I just want to say that this exchange is not fair." "Not fair?" he asked back. Jaron continued, "Since the trial has become stricter, shouldn't my compensation also be increased?" After hearing what he had just said, he let out an, "Oh. Oh, for example." Jaron Arcane turned his head back, looking towards the backup to where the high-ranking people were sitting. His eyes blazed red, radiating dangerous auras as he looked towards Eclovan, like Camellia Palace, for instance. The words just uttered made Eclovan jump in extreme fright, as if not believing what had just happened before his eyes. Jaron Arcane let out a crazed, guttural laugh, his tone filled with ambition. "For example," he said each word clearly, "Camellia Palace." Eclovan went mad, the veins on his face twitching constantly. He couldn't help but curse. That bastard Votgang's old age had made him calmer. He just silently marveled in his heart. How crazy, daring to bargain with the clan head. But Votgang also couldn't hide his overflowing contempt from the bottom of his heart. This fellow truly doesn't know his place. A deal is only made when both sides are equal. That arrogance will cost him his life soon. However, Kai Arcane, the clan head, and also Jaron's father very comfortably agreed. "All right." This made him suddenly panic. Kai tilted his head and smiled faintly. "If you're aiming for the position of successor, you should at least have that much guts." He raised his head and asked those around, "Does anyone object, Heavenly Dragon?" Everyone could feel his indulgence towards Jaron. Clearly, the clan head greatly enjoyed this son's audacity. The question Kai posed was not really a question, so they could only agree without being able to do anything else. "Everything in Arcane belongs to you. How dare I comment on your decision?" Kai was satisfied with that. He replied, "Good. Then prepare the arena immediately." The clan head turned and left his dignified tone, announcing the next event. "I will test Jaron Arcane right here." Jaron knew this was an all-or-nothing gamble, but either way, it was a good opportunity. He forced a difficult smile. The training ground was prepared shortly after. Around there were only the two of them on the field. Clearly, this was a very difficult test. The other four, with different moods, stood outside observing. Their cold, expressionless faces made it impossible for others to understand what they were planning. Eclovan was cursing in his heart. "Damn it, the trap I set to catch Jaron has turned into a stage to elevate him." Looking at Jaron on the arena floor, he tried to convince himself, no need to worry, because before he presented himself as a useless, ordinary kid. So Eclovan also had some basis for more confidence. Even if that kid has gotten stronger, there's no way he can withstand a blow from the clan head. Even a high-level swordsman would find it difficult. He frowned tightly, his eyes full of murderous intent, cursing, "Jaron will die here. He must die here." But on the arena floor, the prey that Eclovan had always looked down upon had suddenly transformed into a hunter. Jaron was sober enough to see through his delusions. I guess that's what he's thinking. Unfortunately for him, that won't happen. The many tutorial rewards I've received. Suddenly, Kai let out a long, He rubbed his chin, speculating. "Did you drink an elixir when I wasn't looking?" No, even if you did, such a rapid change would... Well, I don't really care how you got stronger. Jaron couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. He's truly perceptive. Even the 9 dragons didn't realize. And then he heard his father praise him sarcastically again. After all, you are my flesh and blood. Kai Arcane slung his sword onto his shoulder, his cloak billowing, making his figure even more imposing. So, are you ready? He had no other answer than to reply, yes. Kai wanted a fair test, obviously. After all, he was righteous enough. Therefore, he changed his weapon. Normally, I would use a greatsword, but since you don't even know how to use mana yet, I'll use this rusty sword. Any objections? He politely replied, Of course not, sir. Just as he finished speaking, the atmosphere around him changed. He smirked. All right, then. From that rusty sword, a crimson blood-red energy erupted violently. It was like an atomic bomb, or even more. The sudden oppression made the surrounding space feel compressed. Kai swung the sword down. The dazzling body of the sword flashed with an eye-catching light. He signaled, Let's begin. Jaron was terrified. He couldn't deny this when his body was trembling uncontrollably. Even the groan escaping his throat was shaky and unsteady. This is the real gap in their strength. He gritted his teeth, trying not to fall. He couldn't help but feel terrified in his heart. Radiating such pressure just with fighting spirit. Not only Jaron, but even Kai felt it was unexpected. He praised, I'm surprised you're still standing. Jaron looked up at him, his cunning eyes flashing with a blazing red light. He smirked, feeling proud of himself. Of course. My strength stat has nearly tripled. Jaron remembered the item that had supported his strength enhancement. The reward I received for completing the tutorial Experience Elixir. Experience Elixir, an effective potion that increases 5 levels, requirement below level 30. Jaron tightened his grip on the sword in his hand. Using it gave me 5 more levels, and I put all the allocation points into strength. So his strength chart at this time also had a change. Level 7, Strength 52, Luck 31. The other stats hadn't changed much. He raised his sword to shoulder height, feeling the surging power welling up in his body. This feeling is so liberating, leaving the realm of the ordinary and stepping into the realm of the extraordinary. With this strength, looking at the great wall before him for the first time, Jaron could feel confident when facing someone so strong. I can block one blow from father. A sword strike descended. It was so majestic and powerful that it shone. The light from the sword body sparkled with gold as if wanting to cleave heaven and earth. Not only Jaron stared at it, it was a shock that the others outside also couldn't hide their excited exclamations. The sword strike had descended. Jaron proactively bent his knees, bringing his sword to shoulder height to block the blow. His eyes flicked upwards, looking at the sky above him. It was a sky as red as blood. That sword strike was like a colossal beam of light hurtling down as if it were a giant meteorite. However, Jaron could calmly think, I can see it. In just the blink of an eye, that colossal power had crashed down, causing the ground to shatter. The earth shook, the entire arena floor broke apart, leaving only a mass of earth and rock and thick, obscuring dust. Kai could feel the sensation he received when the two swords collided. He turned his back to Jaron. Though not looking at him, he knew Jaron could still stand there. Kai Arcane couldn't suppress the seething excitement in his veins. He smirked. It was a joyful smile. It's been a long time. The blade began to chip. The sword in his hand shattered into pieces, then fell apart to the ground. But the important thing was that Jaron Arcane could still stand firm on the ground with a smug smile, because the Arcane clan head had acknowledged him. Since I found a decent son. Eklevan furiously gritted his teeth. Contrary to his bitter emotion, Jewel smiled as if he had predicted this miracle would happen. Kai announced the result of this test. Geron Arcane has proven his innocence through his will. He said, "The trial is over." At that moment, the system popped up a blue screen. Notification: you have successfully completed the unexpected mission, Heir's One Blow. Reward is being updated by the system immediately. You have received inventory rights as a reward. You have received the blue key as a reward. Who knows how much time had passed? In a warm room with golden windows facing the sunlight, Geron with his wounds lay quietly asleep on a warm bed. His eyelids fluttered slightly. His blood-red eyes opened. Geron whispered, "Ah, where am I?" Cecilia immediately grasped his hand tightly. She shouted in anxiety, "You're finally awake, my beloved son. You fainted." She sobbed loudly, her eyes welling with tears, talking non-stop. "Do you know how scared I was when I heard you were hit by the clan head's sword? How's your arm? Are you injured? Try moving your shoulder. I need to call a physician immediately if it's broken or dislocated." This forced Geron to speak up to reassure her if he didn't want to continue listening to her nagging. "I'm fine. Please calm down, mother." He turned his head to look at the unfamiliar room he was in, asking puzzledly, "But where am I?" From outside, a man pushed the door open and said, "By order of the clan head." It was Jewel. He was responsible for relaying this announcement. "The former lady of Camellia Palace Ashern and the head of the intelligence team have all been exiled." Geron gaped. "Does that mean—" Jewel understood what he wanted to say. He smiled affirmingly. "That's right. The place you are in is a magnificent and grand castle. This is Camellia Palace." The system promptly updated. Scenario progress has been updated. It uploads mission progress. Scenario Mission 1, The Heir's Path. Take over Camellia Palace and discover its secrets. Camellia Palace. One once. Secret 001. Outside Camellia Palace, in a small nearby garden, a foot in high heels, carrying its anger, aggressively crushed the flower beneath it. It was no stranger. It was Amy. She shrieked madly with her fury. "Why am I, the rightful owner of this palace, forced to leave my own property?" The servants beside her continuously advised, "Madam Ami, please calm down. We beg you, please stay calm." The two men standing beside remained silent. Then Eklevan suddenly called out, "Ashern!" He replied, "Yes, uncle." Eklevan, radiating killing intent. His eyes white gritted out each word. "You must kill Geron Arcane." Ashern also had that intention. He bowed his head and said, "I intend to cut off his arm during the awakening ceremony." Eklevan cut him off. "No, his head." He ruthlessly made the request, his eyes wide and terrifying. "You must take his head."